My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. It's 12:28 a.m. They're flying over senior citizens over 55. That is the defendant, the John Stewart Company. This is the defendant, the Ontario Senior Center. This is the defendant, the Ontario City Hall. I'm standing here where you can see impossible light activity here on the staircase in front of me. The defendant, that is Ovid Family Community Library. The defendants, the people of the state are stalking at the C Street turn circle. That is the defendant. That is not actually noticed fact. The entity has not still conducted any takeoff. They are stalking in the sky space at 12:28 in the morning, where there's no takeoffs from the terminals that have any aboard the plane that are headed to a destination, soaring over the Ontario Civic Center and over the Cirrus Regis group, the defendant that's being prosecuted as well, gang stalking, and doing so while you hear that volume. That's the entity that is monitoring, stalking with noise, stalking in the engineer light, stalking where also I show you during the day, stalking under the fake sun that rises and sets at the Ovid Library. The defendant, that is gang stalking. All right, I just want you to see that is not engaging in anything other than the pattern of conduct. Okay, that plane is hovering on top of that's the military. There's no passengers on those planes. There's no the entity is stalking. That is a judicially noticed fact. The entity was stalking by helicopter. I captured that on video and by podcast. This is the entity that is, again, to the death. And that's the people of the state. That's the vow that they made to Satan. And that's a vow that they're going to be held to. They are going to die monitoring and stalking me. They're going to continue that to their own demise. But this is not, I'm prosecuting them and it's over. But the entity is engaging in this, and the entity is going to pay me for what they are proven themselves to be, which is a population of stalkers, an unheard of and unprecedented criminal act committed by the U.S. government. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 12:30 a.m. $12:35 a.m. Monitoring my operation of my device. So. This is over the senior citizens that are over 55. John Stewart Company. The other plane that just went over did not take off anywhere. Flew over Cirrus Regis Group, veered off, in other words, north. While the entity is stalking, that's the city hall. There's nothing other than the people of the state that are stalking by the housing community. And the entity is flying over Wells Fargo, the defendant that's being prosecuted. Flying over Ontario Town Square, that's the city of Ontario, the defendant that's being federally prosecuted. This is the entity that has conspired my murder and has so engaged in investing in that conspiracy to murder, willing to die while still stalking and monitoring me. This is the entity that is engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is the prosecution of Kurt Hagman, okay, who is being investigated, and that investigation is being led by myself while he's being prosecuted, while the military is utilizing at the commercial planes of the Ontario International Airport. He's supposedly on some board. He's a terrorist. He's gang stalking, and he's very much aware of the planes that are not taking off anywhere, that are hovering, stalking me in the middle of the night. While they maintain a board that is paid to maintain knowledge about what the planes are doing at the moment that they do it and how much it costs while they do that. The entity that's engaging what is providing a budget for stalking, okay, which is what the state of California is engaging in. The federal aviation knows what the entity is doing with commercial planes. Every plane that takes off and doesn't take off anywhere with any passengers aboard is stalking me here. This is the P.O.C. The entity is monitoring the use of my devices. It's currently 12:36 a.m. The entity is engaging in this while there are absolutely no planes scheduled for takeoff that would even be over in this sky space, let alone create what is that public nuisance, that ongoing, extraordinarily loud plane activity. The entity's doing so while they are monitoring me. We're engaging in monitoring me in the face of evidence that's going to put people like Alan D. Wapner, Kurt Hagman, Julia Gu. They're going to be federally prosecuted as terrorists. They committed kidnapping. Understand that. The July 13th, 2026 kidnapping, the Ontario board, the Ontario executive team, they're being prosecuted for that. They share in that pattern of conduct. The airport, the airline companies all committed kidnapping together while they are still stalking me. And this is the entity that's engaged in what is monitoring as a gang stalking airport and gang stalking airlines that are engaging in this. And they do so while they are monitoring even the evidence that I maintain of it. Okay. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 12:37 a.m. I just wanted to pull up right now what is on the website. So let me show you this. This is what is currently on the site regarding flights departing from the Ontario International Airport departures at 12:45, going to Taipei, Guadalajara, Mexico, Denver at 5 a.m., Phoenix, Arizona at 5:15 a.m. I just want to be clear, these are flights coming from the airport that do not include not only no presence in the sky space, but the hovering. You're also looking at the fact that they still haven't conducted a takeoff while they're hovering from the city hall all the way over to the downtown Ontario luxury apartments, this apartment building over here, the Wells Fargo. This is the entity that's engaging in stalking. And as I use what is the published information of the gang stalker, the Ontario International Airport, it is further context corroborating stalking by the military, by the Ontario Police, by the entity that is stalking by commercial planes under all circumstances. No flight from the airport includes any planes in this sky space hovering over the senior center, over the 55 plus senior citizens of the John Stewart Company. If that were the case, they wouldn't have put a senior citizen apartment complex right here. That's just the way that zoning operates. But the entity is doing so because the elderly are gang stalking, and they will not be receiving any HUD housing benefits. In fact, a part of the prosecution of a city of gang stalkers is to remove them from HUD housing. John Stewart Company's not participating in the federal HUD housing program, nor are the people of the state that reside at that venue, and they are all being removed. And those that are going to prison, as you are on the record violating the laws, you will be subject to prison, and nobody cares about your edema, your blood pressure, whatever conditions that your cataracts, you're going to prison, and be treated the same. All right, this is the P.O.C. It's 12:40 a.m. The entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct, and it's China Airlines that's going to Taipei at 12:45 a.m. And China Airlines also doesn't maintain any flights over this or in the sky space or flies over the housing community east of the Laverne College of Law. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and you can clearly see that on Google Maps. These are all judicially noticed facts. This is the entity that's willing to die while monitoring me obsessively, and this is the entity that's willing to pay me, literally go extinct as companies, go extinct as municipalities, because the feds are coming. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 12:40 a.m. It's 12:56 a.m. This is the entity that has sacrificed itself. So John Stewart Company is admitting to be a stalker. The Ontario International Airport admitting to conspiring murder, stalking as an entire airport operation. The military admitting to being mentally ill and conspiring the murder of an American citizen. The Ontario Police Department admitting to being stalkers as an agency, stalking using police vehicles, the resources of a police department. The people of the state, et cetera, et cetera. This is the P.O.C. It's 12:56 a.m. Remember, when I'm at the Ontario Town Square, the entity is not flying over Wells Fargo. They're not flying north of my person. They're stalking by flying over the property remaining on the south side of my person while I'm at the square. They don't fly over the downtown Ontario luxury apartments or the Wells Fargo when I'm at the square. The square is over here. They're stalking me based on my position. That's how detailed the stalking is. Okay? This is the people of the state at 218. She's being prosecuted. She's got a playlist on YouTube. She's being federally prosecuted. She's stalking in the path at the facilitating venue where she resides, and she is on the record, her license plate, her stalking me and doing so in concert with the entity that's maintaining surveillance by engage different while they are stalking me while I'm at the library versus while the entity is stalking me while I'm at the square. They're stalking at Wells Fargo, going to the drive-through, stalking in the path, surveillance. Wells Fargo is stalking. This is the P.O.C. at 12:57 a.m. and Wells Fargo is admittedly stalking. Okay? That's the entity that's engaging and willing to sacrifice itself. They're willing to die, gang stalking me. That's how mentally ill they are. That's how much martial law is necessary. This is the Okay, this is the entity that operates through the corporations that are equally desperate stalking me. That's what you need to understand. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 12:58 a.m. This is pathetic. All right, I just want to be clear. The mentally ill, the military, they've embarrassed themselves. This is stalking. They're not headed to a destination when they're flying over Wells Fargo either. And 218 C Street is stalking with the military, sitting in front of her facilitating venue where she resides with her vehicle lights on. Stalking in the path with light is what that is, mentally ill behavior. This is what the demons are doing by stalking at the parking garage of the John Stewart Apartments, like I documented. This is what they're doing by stalking in the parking lot of Arco, by first stalking at the gas stall at Arco, and then going around to molest me with impossible light, stalking in that dark parking lot. Sex offenders stalking in planes. The entity that is stalking you in planes is stalking you as a whole population, and this is the entity that is embarrassing itself. There are no planes. There are no passengers on these planes. These are no destinations that they're headed to. And the entity is perfectly fine because they're willing to die stalking me. The companies are willing to die stalking me, okay? They want you to know, and they're letting you know, because that's how more obsessed with me that they are than they are with their own selves, their own well-being, their own existence. Those are not humans, that's the Nephilim. The Nephilim are in need of being subject to martial law. They're being removed from law enforcement. They're being removed from the medical field. They're being removed from the practice of law. They're being removed from the ways in which they threaten the public, having access to planes and helicopters, having the ability to operate public transportation, while they are maintaining companies where they pose a threat, like stalking and killing people in UPS commercial planes and any other airline that's engaging in this P.O.C. It is currently 1:03 a.m. There's no plane scheduled right now, and that's, even if there were, the entity is stalking. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 1:03 a.m. The entity is monitoring what is going on the internet while they just engage in a U-turn. They're coming from the airport. They're flying northwest, deviating far from the airport, and then they're ducking down low from an elevation and then hovering over the Ontario City Hall that's going to be shut down. And the entity is hovering over here, and what you just saw right now, doing U-turns over Metro 102 that's being prosecuted, MIG Real Estate, that you see them stalking with light, the people that stay doing their part, all those demons, they're all being prosecuted, and so are the corporations. And Ontario Town Square, GL Partners, you're being prosecuted. The entities engaging in that while they're engaged in stalking in the sky space, and with the people who you see doing their part, stalking with light, mentally ill behavior by animals. They're not even humans. They're demons. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, I am publishing the video that I just captured seconds ago while the entity engages in another. This is literally the federal stalking connect. This is, in other words, what they're doing by helicopter. They're using planes doing it right now. The same analysis applies. The entity is going to compensate me for that. The entire Ontario board, the Ontario executive team, they're all, that entire, and including the City of Ontario, is being prosecuted, and they're going to compensate. So are the stalkers stalking in the planes. So are the demons in the apartment building stalking with the entity that's not headed to a destination. You are absurdly psychotic, engaging in this pattern of conduct. That's the Nephilim that have concocted this, and the entire state of California practices this. The P.O.C. The Baker Act is being repealed, by the way. The mentally ill are engaging in criminal activity. They're engaging in mentally ill practices, and they are in no position. No one is in any position to diagnose, address, take anybody's property under any circumstances. It is not establishing mental illness. The entity is mentally ill and is unfit and is in no position to engage in this. This is speaking to the repeal upon what is surveillance by that entity that also engages in using the Baker Act. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:06 a.m. This is Sarah's Regis group that is gang stalking with light. This is what 218 C Street is engaging in, stalking with light, monitoring with the entity. You'll see the pictures uploaded to the drive, plane after plane after plane. This is what I'm documenting, and I already showed what the Ontario International Airport is publishing, which is more evidence of stalking. This is blatant stalking, but I can even refer to what the Ontario International Airport has admitted with regard to the activities of that airport, which is not going to occur over the City Hall, and are not occurring at 2:24 a.m. Okay, the China Airlines is occurring 2 hours ago, and the entity is publishing planes during the 5 a.m. hour. This is the entity that is stalking in concert with the people that are stalking with light. Sarah's Regis group is being federally prosecuted for criminal facilitation and furtherance of murder. All right, so they're being civilly and criminally prosecuted. They're making money while their residents are paying rent. Their security guards are gang stalking, monitoring, speaking to public corruption. They're engaging in this on the roads and the highways, stalking with the military that's maintaining this ongoing P.O.C. This is psychopathic pacing. All right, Metro 102 was stalking while they're flying over the Ontario City Hall parking lot. John Stewart Company is gang stalking. The GL Partners, that is Ontario Town Square, while they're flying over in a U-turn, they're targeting with light. This is stalking. The element of monitoring is a criminal engagement in the P.O.C, which the corporation Sarah's Regis Group is being prosecuted for. Wells Fargo is stalking in the path. Wells Fargo is stalking as well while the entity is maintaining light. And this is the entity that's also being prosecuted while the fake sun is over here and the entities engaged in the same P.O.C. And during the day, this is what the demons of the City of Ontario are engaging in. They just do it in City of Ontario vehicles, the municipality. Okay? This is the P.O.C. The entity is indeed engaged in the pattern of conduct. They're doing so. Well, I will remind you about what the Ontario International Airport is. It has already admitted. I already captured it in the other video, but I'm going to go ahead and include it in this video as well. Sarah's Regis is targeting in concert with the entity that is targeting with commercial planes. That's the entity that's engaging in that together as one. At 5:21 p.m., this is where the entity is maintaining what is flights. That's to Seattle, Delta Airlines from Gate 209, which is not going to occur. Delta Airlines is also gang stalking over this venue where no flights from Gate 209, Terminal 2, are hovering over the City Hall. That's the POC of all of the airlines that are targeting. This is the entity that has no published flights. This is the arrivals, and this is the departures. Going to Denver at 5 a.m. There is absolutely nothing published coming from the Ontario International Airport. The Ontario International Airport, which you can see, is at 2500 Airport Drive and at 2900 Airport Drive. The entity is engaging in what is deviating by being even in the sky space. There is no coincidence. It is the pattern of conduct while the entity is maintaining flashing of light and the mental illness that is exhibited by the behavior of those that are in the specific environment. This is the entity that is, as the demons exhibit the behavior of what's going on in the environment, stalking under the fake sun, stalking with light. This is the demon possessed that engage in monitoring you with light activity. They do so on the roads and the highways. They do so as a corporate entity. Sarah's Regis Group, you are being prosecuted. It is currently 2:27 a.m. John Stewart Company is being prosecuted while Sarah's Regis Group is in relevant position. Wells Fargo is gang stalking. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct with the people of the state. Wells Fargo and these companies represent the people of the state, engaging in 24-hour surveillance. That's why the government is stalking, engaging in U-turns and hovering over the old people that are not asleep. They're gang stalking. They're monitoring. All right, this is the POC. It is currently 2:28 a.m. in the absence of any flights published. And where the flights are published, there are none that are engaging in any takeoff here over the Ontario City Hall. That's the mentally ill that are going to be subject to martial law. This is the admission of the people of the state that are gang stalking, okay? This is the POC, and this is the entity that's engaged in this with regard to the conspiracy to commit murder. This is why Jason Fields is going to federal prison, okay? This is the entity, this is why Tracy Banks is going to prison. Tracy Banks was stalking at Arco Gas while the entity was flying in planes over that Arco gas station. You saw them stalking at the 10 freeway with commercial planes. There are no flights from the airport that occur over the 10 freeway in Upland, over the Arco gas station, which is north of this location, nor over the Ovid Family Community Library, nor at 2:28 in the morning either. This is the POC. Tracy Banks is going to prison. This is the pattern of conduct. The employees of Sarah's Regis Group, they're in danger of prison. I'm prosecuting them. They're engaged in systematic monitoring. And the entities engaged in that, it's not based on your work schedule, honey. It's not based on business hours of the establishment. It's based on systematic engagement. And this is the entity that is engaging in criminal activity, which is a product of what is coordinated targeting conduct, which is in furtherance of what is murder. Okay, the unabated program is psychological torture, stalking in these manners, stalking with noise, stalking with light, and stalking in the path. Criminal presence in the path. This is POC. That parking garage, by the way, is filled with engineer light, documenting the entity stalking me with the fake sun in that parking garage. The people of the state are demons stalking with impossible light at a distance from me while I'm standing and documenting the demons pacing in and out of downtown Ontario luxury apartments, and downtown Ontario luxury is also stalking while the entity is maintaining light activity. Not coincidentally, but pursuant to a pattern in alignment to me. That's the POC. It is currently 2:29 a.m. Alrighty, this is the POC. I just want to remind you about what I'm documenting about what Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines is doing at G Street when I'm at Woodside Senior Apartments, where the 7-Eleven is at 636 North Vine Avenue, where Reliable Properties is located at the facilitating venue of G Street, West G Street and North
Euclid Avenue and at North Vine Avenue. The entity is stalking at what is that intersection of Vine Avenue. That is north of this location. And so is the 10 freeway, much more north. It's literally in the betwixt the city of Upland and Ontario. But you're looking at the entity that is targeting while they are maintaining what is a body of evidence, speaking to that entity maintaining that presence. This is what is prosecuting all that entity, an apartment complex stalking. And the residents of that apartment complex stalking, a city that is stalking, with an airport that is stalking. These are the mentally ill that are engaging in that. This is a psychopathic disorder shared by a population. These are the effects of the spirit of Satan that possesses a people. And they engage in the deranged conduct such as hovering over a government building. That government building is being prosecuted. If you don't know what prosecuting a government building looks like, that is referred to what is defunding and martial law, removal from public office, and doing so for what is public information, being removed as terrorists, not quietly resigning and keeping your retirement and your retirement package. The entities engaging in this while they are stalking in very clear manners, which you can compare with what's going on G Street at North Vine Avenue, where there are also no takeoffs from Terminal 2 or Terminal 4, with having any passengers on those planes. The entity is using whole helicopters and planes flying over Woodside Senior Apartments. They were amplifying planes inside of Frank Nieto's apartment. The entity was stalking by helicopter while that fake sun remained outside of the living room window over the apartment where I'm inside of, where the entity is stalking at Saris Regis Group by light activity. That's what the entity is doing with the fake sun, surveillance. This is the entity, and Saris Regis Group is being federally prosecuted. You are being criminally prosecuted for what the people of the state, that are you are one entity. You are being prosecuted for that. Just want you to know, this is the entity that's engaging in that. That is a criminal pattern of conduct that is speaking to your criminal engagement and conspiring against me, and I am prosecuting you for it. You are criminally liable, as though you, the owner of the Saris Regis company, are going to specifically engage in that, because that's exactly what's happening when your employees, when the people of the state, when the residents, when the entity are engaging in the pattern of conduct under any circumstances, including that is relevant position of the establishment itself. While the government is engaging in what is gang stalking with you, you are being prosecuted. Okay, these companies, or by the way, these companies, these corporations, they know where they built these properties. All right, they are very much aware of the pattern of conduct of the surveillance system in California. They know where they constructed these properties, and you're being prosecuted for it based on the ways in which you can tie it together under the law. Your employees are agents, your residents are agents. You're profiting from that is what is an unlawful and a violation of what is good public policy. Your engagement in that which is threatening the life of an American citizen. This is all speaking for your criminal liability. Okay, it's criminal. This is the P.O.C. and it's also that which is a civil matter. The entities engaging in, I just want to remind you about that while I'm at Woodside Senior Apartments at 408 West G Street, at Facilitating Venue West G Street and North Vine Avenue and North Euclid Avenue, where the entity's stalking by planes. Don't forget that. At the giant dollar store, they're flying commercial planes over. Delta Airlines was flying over. United Frontier Airlines, Alaska Airlines are flying over G Street. Okay, there is no making that normal, and the entity is not trying to make it normal. The entity is blatantly stalking, telling you that they engage in murdering American citizens with commercial planes and stalking you and targeting you. That's what the military is telling you. That's what the entity is telling you. That's what the airline companies are telling you, while they're not even trying to appear as though they're, and that's, okay, that's not a good thing that they will be true, but that's what the entity's first purpose is, because you're supposed to be crazy. So what are you talking about? Nobody's stalking you. We're flying from the airport. There's an airport in the city, and this is a takeoff from the airport. Yeah, all of that illusion is gone. They are blatantly stalking. They are willing to die continuously stalking and monitoring me. This is the Nephilim. These are the mentally ill. Okay, and the hallmark is stalking with light, always stalking by helicopter, doing so under the fake sun while they're engaging in surveillance as an entity. That's a whole city of defendants. Okay, the entities engaging in this, and that's what I want to remind you about. Far from here, north up Euclid Avenue, and while the entity is hovering, you see them continuing west. They're hovering over the City Hall, over the Senior Center, over the John Stewart, over the Ontario Town Square, over the Wells Fargo Bank, over the downtown Ontario luxury apartments. They are never heightening in elevation. If that were the case, we would not be hearing the plane. It wouldn't be competing with my voice. They would not be in the zoning where the elderly are situated. They're also doing so where there's not even any flight schedule from the airport, arrivals or departures. None of that from the airport, the address of the airport is occurring in this sky space, and takeoffs from an airport are completed in the sky space above that airport property. Very rapid, and also a sharp incline if you've ever been on a plane. This entity is hovering miles away from the airport and still hovering throughout the city. And they're doing that at Woodside Senior Apartments. They're doing that at Stater Brothers, west of this location. They're doing that in Upland, California, over the 10 freeway. What the entity's not trying to act like they can't act like anything. They're out here stalking me blatantly. Okay, while they're stalking me blatantly, they're letting you know, this is the government, this is the people of the state, these are corporations letting you know that they're into stalking you and monitoring you. And they don't care if you know about it. They can't hide it. We can't hide it anymore. We're still going to stalk you. This is a message that's being conveyed to you. This is a threat to you. This is not spreading any spirit of fear. This is informing you about what it is that you're looking at. Just like I showed you the fake sun, you never paid attention to it. This is what they are telling you. That's the message. Okay? This is the entity that's going to be subject to martial law. I don't know what, it's not a matter of what I know, but the entity is very psychotic. They are clearly a banner for mental illness. They are a neon blinking sign for mental illness and a mentally ill population that are going to be locked down. Okay, they're engaging in stalking for no legitimate reason. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I'm literally sitting down and I'm watching videos on YouTube. The entity is engaged in obsessively stalking me, doing so with light in the path, knowledge of who I am, where I'm at, what I'm doing, obsessing over me, not minding their business, not sleep as a community. And the government stalking by commercial planes at 2 o'clock in the morning is the evidence of that. Not the fact that the entity is not filled with the City of Ontario employees pacing through the walkway. The entity is still pacing. The entity is still stalking. The entity is doing so at nightfall in the specific environment. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 2:37 a.m. on Thursday, August 13, 2026. The corporations are being federally prosecuted for what I'm showing you. You are being prosecuted while the entity is stalking with train activity. Union Pacific is not any sort of train activity that you're going to hear throughout the city. The entity is doing that in the engineered environment. They're doing so while the entity is stalking with the military. These are the mentally ill, which you are able to diagnose through their audible activity, through their light activity, through the environment, which defies nature. This is the entity that's going to be subject to martial law because they are mentally deranged. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 2:38 a.m. And Sarah's Regis Group, Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, is stalking just like they are with light. While the entity is maintaining another flight, it's 2:42 a.m. That's the plane activity at 2:42 in the morning, outside of what the airport in Ontario has published has any flights. Not that it would come from the airport hovering over here at 215 E.C. Street, coming from 2500 Airport Drive. All right, that's the entity that's stalking. P.O.C. It's 2:42 a.m. 2:43 a.m. Seconds later. This is mental illness. P.O.C. This is what they do now when the podcast is being created. This is, as you can see, stalking more. Doesn't erase or delete the evidence or make it disappear. They're going to be committed. This is mental illness, including the companies, the CEOs, the shareholders that are providing planes to the mentally ill to fly them, to stalk one person, those that are making money off of stalking, those that are conducting businesses to cover stalking, those that are engaging in surveillance and create corporations to engage in stalking, those that are engaging in a surveillance system of stalking and monitoring and murder and kidnapping while holding out themselves as corporations that are legitimate. They're all mentally ill. That's mentally ill, psychopathic. It's 2:44 a.m. This is P.O.C. while the entity is monitoring the podcast that is being formed of the entity stalking in the dark, 2 o'clock in the morning. This is Kurt Hagman's prosecution, okay? I'm prosecuting the mayor. I'm prosecuting the city council. I'm prosecuting the fire department, the police department, the sheriff department. I'm prosecuting the gang stalking ambulances. I'm prosecuting the entity that's stalking as an airport. I'm prosecuting the state of California, okay? And you're being federally prosecuted. I just want to be clear. You're going to go from being on a city council to prison. You're going to go from calling yourself a mayor to an inmate. You're going to go from vagina monitoring to a mental institution. You're being snatched out of these positions while the entity's stalking me in commercial planes and flying over this city hall. And you think that you're going to sit in that position, or you think you're going to quietly resign. The reason why you think that is because you're mentally ill. The reason why I'm still being gang stalked and you are openly implicating yourself, because that's what you're doing while the military and the Ontario police are stalking me. You are going to be locked up. That's what's happening. P.O.C. It's 2:45 a.m. 2:49 a.m. P.O.C. It's 2:49 a.m. monitoring as I am. This is stalking me while you're monitoring my device as the podcast is being published. And this podcast excerpt, there will be more because the entity stalked me all day long. But we're starting August 13th with this late night stalking, 24-hour surveillance. And this is the corporations and the government being prosecuted in concert with the people of the state that live in the city of Ontario. I'm prosecuting all the apartment complexes. I'm prosecuting the government. I'm prosecuting the entity that's gang stalking together. The entity is engaging in this at 2 o'clock in the morning. There's not even any flights coming from the airport. Okay, 2:50 a.m. P.O.C. This is Amazon. License 9 Charlie George Sam 609, stalking with who's been stalking all night long, downtown Ontario luxury apartments. And this is sexual assault and battery. These are the demons that also drive the Amazon trucks that are with the logo on it. This is the same people of the state. The license is 9 Charlie George Sam 609, delivering packages in Engineer Light, gang stalking, stalking in the path, stalking at 5:30 something in the morning. This is Amazon, the terrorist, gang stalking, 5:36 a.m. This is P.O.C. And we're there delivering the packages, stalking with impossible light, stalking with the state that's stalking by plane and helicopter, stalking at the venue where the fake sun rises and sets. This is where the entity is going to be prosecuted. Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments is prosecuted while the entity, this is what they were doing while they were stalking with light. This is that same apartment complex. This is a method of stalking. Device while you are delivering the package in the specific environment. All right, these are demons. That's P.O.C. And they're stalking together. All right, and as I walk up Euclid Avenue, just like I'm documenting under a fake sun, this is the entity stalking with light. This is mental illness. This is a mentally ill population, and these are mentally ill practices of a gang stalking company. Beware, Amazon Prime is telling you what they are. This is the P.O.C. That's a demon stalking in the path and engaging in that P.O.C. and that's psychopathic. All right, I'm focused on this. I'm not stalking you. I'm not focused on you. I'm not looking at you. You're going to look at the environment. This is the entity that is monitoring. It's a sex offender. He's going to be prosecuted. Amazon's be prosecuted for sexual assault and battery. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, that's the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. Delivering a package is a stalking in the path. Walking your dog is stalking in the path. Holding a conversation in the parking lot while they're in that environment. Here's my shadow. Here's my shadow. All right. That's the entity that's engaged in that. This is the gang stalker, downtown Ontario luxury apartments. I'm prosecuting Saris Regis Group, P.O.C. It is currently 5:38 a.m. Amazon Prime is keeping you under surveillance. The employees are demons, P.O.C. License plate, molestation, Starbucks. 7AQA211, P.O.C. Sexual assault and battery. That's a male, and it's Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. This is P.O.C. Everybody at Starbucks is gang stalking. That's already established. So the stalkers are in position. Nothing's happening. I'm looking down. I'm staring at my phone. I'm minding my business, monitoring together. This is the P.O.C. Starbucks commits sexual assault and battery, just like downtown Ontario luxury apartments does, while Amazon commits sexual assault and battery. This is P.O.C. It is 5:43 a.m.
Alrighty, this is relevant evidence. This is again Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines is all over the place stalking. I am looking at El Pescador, and you're looking at stalking on the roads and the highways. Amazon Prime was stalking, and so is Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments. The people of the state are stalking at Starbucks. Going to the cafe is a means of keeping me under surveillance while I'm across the street and a stalker is engaging in surveillance at the Arco gas stall. I took a picture of that license plate. You'll see this chronologically with regard to the population that's stalking me as I go up the street. Stalking at the gas station by pumping their gas. Stalking at Starbucks by going and picking up your drink, sitting in your vehicle, waiting for me to cross the street so you can engage in sexual assault and battery with engineer light. Where Southwest Airlines is stalking. Remember yesterday, while I'm beyond H as in Henry Street, Southwest Airlines is stalking way down there. Terminal 4 does not have any flights that will hover across the Ovid Family Community Library. Not engaging in any flights that will make a U-turn in that City Hall parking lot. Not here at what is Euclid and F Street. And also not north of this location over the 10 freeway, nor over H Street, where they're going into Upland stalking. Okay, the entity is engaging. These minions are stalking with the government. They're psychopaths that are stalking you, monitoring you with light. They do so corporately. That's what Starbucks is doing. That's what Amazon Prime is doing. That's what Southwest Airlines is doing. That's what the people of the state are doing where they live, where they work, as they're on the roads and the highways. Martial law is removing all of this. They don't have any rights. They're not driving. They certainly won't be flying. They're not going to work where they're gang stalking. They're not going to school where they're gang stalking. They're not going to the grocery store where they're gang stalking. All right, this is the entity, and this is the evidence of the P.O.C. showing how thorough martial law is going to be. That's the P.O.C. That's Southwest Airlines again stalking me. And let's do so. 5:55 a.m. You saw the schedule that was posted. All right, the entity that has airline planes, commercial airlines, Southwest, that doesn't have any flights from Terminal 4 where Southwest Airlines are assigned. All right, none of it's occurring over here. That's the P.O.C. though. Even if Southwest Airlines had a flight schedule right now, which it does not, it's not hovering. It's not in the sky space. That's the P.O.C. It's the evidence of all of them stalking. These are all sex offenders. Facilitating venue, North Euclid Avenue and G Street. P.O.C. License plate. Coming into the close lane, 8YLM194, sexual assault and battery. That's a four-eyed white male with a pot belly. He's a stalker. He's a co-conspirator of murder. He's a psychopath. He doesn't mind being documented. He doesn't have anything to live for. That's a suicidal demon. So are all the rest of them. They also drive Omnitrans buses. Okay? They also drive Amazon Prime vehicles. They also fly around in Southwest Airline planes. P.O.C. It is currently 5:56 a.m. License plate 24329 Charlie 3. Stalking. Being a sex offender stalking. Sexual assault and battery. Stalking on J Street. J as in Jerry. The people of the state are stalking with the entity that's engaging in. I'm taking pictures of the planes. This is pacing. Plane after plane. I just captured another J Street. And the entity is clearly stalking. The people of the state are being prosecuted while the government is telling on them, while the government is following me north up Euclid Avenue. Okay? This is what the government is doing while the fake sun follows me up North Euclid Avenue. That's the P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, while that third party is stalking with the government, that's the government testifying against the people of the state. That's the entity that's going to be prosecuted as a violent sex offender conspiring in the murder of the woman that is prosecuting him, stalking on the roads and the highways, and exhibiting severe mental instability. That's a threat to other women, a threat to the public. It is 6:11 a.m. at J Street and Euclid Avenue. That's facilitating venue, West J Street and North Euclid Avenue. This is P.O.C. 9LXG664, stalking with Southwest Airlines. You'll see the picture of them stalking right here at SHEEHY High School. This is the P.O.C. stalking on the roads and the highways. That's the entity that's conspiring your murder while they're stalking you while on the roads on the roads and the highways while they're implicating interstate commerce, making sure that you remain subject to surveillance at all places and at all times. This is why the state of California maintains the specific environment, fake suns all over everyone in the state of California while they engage in surveillance. This is the entity that's gang stalking. Southwest Airlines is stalking by flying over SHEEHY High School.
a facilitating venue, a crime scene where surveillance is underway, not the education of minors. It's 6:20 a.m. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. I am standing at Bonnie Bray Court and Euclid Avenue, where you can see the fake sun. Remember, I'm walking north up this street at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm capturing video at 1:12 p.m. The fake sun is over me on 8th Street, which is south. On this same street, I have to go back south to get back to Woodside Senior Apartments, where the entity had the fake sun over unit number 81 and 82, gang stalkers who are subject to prison. And this is the entity that's engaging in the impossible. So the sun that's in alignment to me at Bonnie Bray and Euclid Avenue, north of the location where I'm at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1:11, 1:12 p.m. as a matter of video evidence, speaking to this phenomenon that is not going to stay here and stay essentially in the same location to be over Woodside Senior Apartments, over the back portion of that apartment complex, unit 82, in its zenith, over my head at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, to be on video at the Grove Apartments at 1:12 p.m. That's not what this is going to do. This is stalking, just like it was in the evening when I was walking from the Upland Public Library. All right, that's the pattern of conduct where Southwest Airlines, the people of the state, are stalking, and demons who are very severely mentally ill, demons who engage in raping babies, demons who engage in eating the feces and bodily fluids of babies, of those that they are stalking and obsessed with, those that are engaging in murder. They're serial killers stalking me in these planes that don't have any passengers on them. They're not going to a destination, and they're all stalking under a fake sun, every single last one of them. These are demons. Their purpose is to maintain surveillance in California under the illusion that everybody's headed to work and focused on getting a bag, all right, and living their lives and maintaining their followers on social media. They're monitoring on the internet. They're monitoring on the roads and the highways. They're monitoring where they live. They're monitoring where they work. They're monitoring while they're driving school buses. They're monitoring while they're at school. These demons aren't even learning. That's what's behind the impossible, as I show you the scientific evidence, that which scripture, that which is 100% true, would tell you before science cannot deny nature that God created. The sun is not going to be south of this location over Woodside Senior Apartments. Evidence that's on the record. Look at what I uploaded and published already online, prosecuting every single last person, every corporation, everybody on facilitating venue North Euclid Avenue, from Ontario to Upland, because that's exactly what this prosecution entails. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:26 a.m. License plate 6 Sam Henry 175, stalking with the entity that is pathetic, trying to hide. This is what I'm referring to. The entity is engaging in U-turns over Euclid Avenue. This is the entity, like I stated at the Ovid Family Community Library. It's embarrassing how psychotic and how pathetic. The demon possessed. They know that they are succumbing to death magic that they cursed on, they put on themselves and they put on their children that are already born cursed because they're born to demons, and they put death magic out here, and you're watching psychotic breaks while the entity is stalking in this manner. This is not just criminal activity. This is a psychological breakdown. They're breaking down before you. They're losing their minds progressively. In other words, they're already crazy. Okay? And I'm not using that in some loose or irresponsible manner. They are absolutely outside of their right minds. These are irrational, unreasonable beings that are also not human. Demon possession is very real. And that's the core purpose or reasoning behind their mentally ill behavior, which is also criminal. The entities engaging in this while they are obsessively stalking, for there's no purpose, but in their sick minds, they cannot stop stalking. Do you understand that? That's why you are going to lock the mentally ill down, a society of them, by martial law. They're driving Ontario police vehicles. They are driving American Medical Response, operating fire departments like Michael GERKEN. They're running around without any labels. Okay, they're running around without a criminal record, and that's what the P.O.C. is changing. The entire city of Ontario, the state of California, is identified as a terrorist, and everybody residing in this state. License 8 Mary Apple Larry 196 is stalking while the demons are doing U-turns over the street. Where are you taking off from? The mental illness is evident through the behavior, through the environment, including the fake sun at 6 in the morning.
So what is over my head at this same look at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? This is the entity that's being diagnosed. This is a diagnosis through prosecution. SHU law, SCHULAW. They won't be practicing law. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:32 a.m. where the entity engages in psychopathic behavior and then repeats it. That's what Alaska Airlines did during the 1 p.m. hour, stalking while I'm at the Grove Apartments yesterday afternoon, while I'm prosecuting you, and then you on camera repeat it as though that suggests that you're not a stalker, that you're not mentally deranged. That's the entity that's engaging in that. And the psychopaths are being removed from the ability to practice medicine and criminally defame anybody else, because that's what's behind the Baker Act, the Baker legislation, which is being repealed. This is P.O.C. 1429 North Euclid Avenue. This is a facilitating venue. Nobody that knows Christ Jesus attends this. This is a crime scene. All right. This is the entity that's maintaining surveillance by building an establishment. The establishment calls itself a church. It's another business. This is the P.O.C. where demons congregate at 6:33 a.m. Alrighty, this is the fake sun that yesterday evening after 7 p.m. was on this side of the street while I was walking south down Euclid Avenue, where the mentally ill are stalking. This is proof of stalking in a specific environment. The specific environment is what I have termed with regard to showing that which is distinct, where ABC Supply Company Incorporated is a corrupt company, a corporation engaging in state surveillance. It was formed for that malicious and criminal purpose. They are driving an engineer light. I've documented this thoroughly on the roads and the highways amongst the demon-possessed. 8YAN680 is stalking. And they're doing so under a fake sun. They are doing so with knowledge. They're doing so as a population. They're doing so at 1510 North Euclid Avenue, where during the 9 a.m. hour, that is, 3 hours from now, all right, is where the entity engaged in what is exhibiting also mental illness, while the entity is stalking by helicopter, stalking as a population by helicopter, and engaging in the psychopathic pacing. That's when they're having a psychotic break and they start pacing over and over. That's what this is. They're one entity. They're crossing path over and over, crossing path over and over under a fake sun that rises and sets at 1510 North Euclid Avenue as I'm prosecuting these defendants, and they are subject to prison. Okay, this is P.O.C. While the government is stalking me by helicopter where you live, you are going to prison for stalking me and furtherance of murder with that government that used the whole helicopter in 3 separate videos. And that fake sun is present for me to prosecute you just to be sure, because your constitutional rights are being protected by my prosecuting you with this evidence of the P.O.C. The fake sun is setting here during the 7 p.m. hour, and it's 6:40 a.m. and this is the fake sun that is right here. A phenomenon. Impossible, in other words. Okay? It's also impossible. I want to be clear. 3 hours from now, that's Florida. 6:40, it's 9:40 in Florida. This is not in Florida. And it's not going to be in Florida when it's still here, setting here. That's how you know what the Miami-Dade Police Department, just as an example, is engaging in. And it's called criminal surveillance. You have a bunch of gang stalkers, by the way, that are on reality TV. And in California, on Euclid Avenue, okay, just like I pointed out on video yesterday afternoon during the 1 p.m. hour, and then yesterday again during the 7 p.m. hour, and this morning during the 6 a.m. hour, and as I documented last week, while 1510 North Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, 91762 was stalking me by helicopter, exhibiting mental instability with the government that's targeting me with them, and all of these who are subject to prison, and specifically mental institutions, for the mentally ill pattern of criminal surveillance, gang stalking in this remarkable and deranged environment. They're all in engineer light. This is all a stage. Everybody that's acting together is all crazy. They're all crazy. They're all demons. And they drive school buses, just so that you know. That's why I'm being gang stalked by helicopter at the crime scene, SHEEHY High School. Demons that stalk with light. And the reason why SHEEHY High School is very heavy on Euclid Avenue is because I've been referring to them. Those demons are on assignment. That's okay, because you're going to be committed with that. I just hope that you know you're reaping what you're sowing. And in the evidence, you're sowing confinement in a mental institution. You've already seen the entity stalking me in school buses and molesting me with impossible light. And then they're at school. What do you think they are learning to do? They're learning how to monitor genitalia. They're engaging in that with the stalkers, Southwest Airlines. They're doing that while they are stalking under a fake sun. 9FVS 119. You're talking about I could send you to prison. I'm prosecuting right now. This is the P.O.C.
That's the demons driving the school bus is stalking with light, threatening. I don't know who you think you're threatening, but it's on video. The entity stalking with light that appeared on this sidewalk right here. 9 PFE 322. You're talking about prison. This is the easy way in which you're prosecuting, including the demon driving that bus. It will be produced. You're not you're not going off and disappearing into the oblivion. Like the fake sun doesn't go anywhere. The evidence against you and the mental illness that you exhibit, it's not going anywhere. It's sitting on the record. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:43 a.m. where the entity has the evidence of the fake sun. 6 a.m. hour during the 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that hour, 7 during the 7 p.m. hour, and also that beautiful evidence serving to prosecute an entity. Everybody up and down Euclid Avenue. Okay, and you're talking about what are going to be raids. You are going to prison for stalking me by helicopters. You're going to prison for kidnapping me. You're going to prison for engaging in sexual assault and battery, wanting to see me stripped nude and wanting to look and examine my anus, wanting me to take my clothes off and tell me what order to take all of that they engaged in via Delgado with her body cam on. All these sex offenders that work for San Bernardino County. The people of the state at 1510 North Euclid Avenue shared in that sex offense. They shared in kidnapping while they're stalking together, and the entity is stalking me by helicopter at this venue. This is not private property. Okay? And my nudity, all right, is not a matter of any privacy either. And there's a penalty for it. I just hope that they don't understand that, but they will. Because when you're looking at those four padded walls, and there's nowhere for you to fling that impossible light, then you're going to understand. 9WSM388. Psychopathic pacing. Analyze the evidence. Psychopathic pacing by Chafee Joint Union High School. License plate 1407633. Chafee Joint Union engaging in psychopathic pacing. That's the mentally ill that have no business around children that are gang stalking in the first place. But this is the demon-possessed society. That's P.O.C. It's a corrupt society. You will be prosecuted. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 6:44 a.m. This is P.O.C. There will be no sun in the environment. The gang stalkers, Aveneth Capital Management at Woodside Senior Apartments, where the entity was stalking me by helicopter. The entity that kept that fake sun and followed me up to Upland Public Library, where I'm headed now. What is that, 5 hours, 6 hours ahead of... Oh, this is the entity that's engaging in ridiculous. It's ridiculously obvious, and they're ridiculously mentally ill. You will not be defaming anybody, let alone making the mistake of defaming my character. Oh, you're going to live in regret for the rest of your life, however much longer you have, by the way. But you're going to regret it for the rest of your life, and everyone knows that you're engaging in a pattern of conduct when you misspoke on my name and my character, which you did pursuant to the P.O.C. And that's why you're going to prison. That's why you have forfeited your ability to practice medicine, your ability to practice law, your ability to be in law enforcement, your ability to be a gang stalking firefighter. They commit kidnappings too under the Welfare and Institutions Code. Okay, the entity is engaging in this, and this is the repeal of the Baker Act. Okay, the entity that is gang stalking you is in fact gang stalking you. You're not mentally ill at all. They're demons, and they are mentally ill. They're the ones who are mentally ill. This is P.O.C. All right, this is Diversified Landscaping Stalking. All right, this is P.O.C. Diversified Landscaping is analogous to Mariposa, that's stalking, to Brightview Landscapes, that's stalking. The entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, these license plates that I'm documenting on a regular basis, they're under the fake sun during the 1 p.m., 2 p.m. hour at the same freeway entrance. This is federal prison. Diversified Landscaping is already a heavily documented serial stalker, the corporation. And they're engaging in what is stalking me by coming in. I'm just gonna go check. You go check whatever you want. That's the entity that's pushing a stroller, walking their dog, stalking with the entity under the fake moon, under the fake sun, stalking at the Ovid Family Community Library in Plains, and following me up Euclid Avenue in Plains right now. Okay, the entity is engaged in that. These license plates. The more I this is prison. Diversified Landscaping in particular, they've gone out of their way to engage in stalking me. And while you pronounce yourself as a terrorist, terrorists go to prison. So that's what you're getting. 9 VEN 335. The mentally ill, that doesn't compute in their minds. They will not understand until they're in prison. License 9VMR 955. This is the P.O.C. This is the fake sun. 6:50 a.m. This is the P.O.C. I documented this in the afternoon yesterday, and it was over me in the afternoon. And as common sense dictates, it is not remaining stationary over this location for the duration of the day. That's not the sun. It's not in Florida while it remains stationary at this freeway, such that it just looks like it's moving over me exclusively, and everybody has the same exact experience while it's also in Florida at the same time. It's not in Sacramento in California. It's not in Riverside or in San Bernardino in California while it's simultaneously just remaining here all day long, and it just looks like it's moving over me exclusively as opposed to everybody else, so as to suggest that I am not being targeted, evident through the ignoramuses who are stalking under a fake sun. The bullseye of Satan and all of his minions engaging in monitoring you. Okay, in doing so through corporation diversified landscapes. Diversified Landscapes is stalking me, engaging in psychopathic pacing, ongoing sexual assault and battery with the people of the state. 9TBR084 is stalking just like they are, including Amazon Prime, who was correcting me while I misspoke and said UPS. And that fake sun that is here was right here, where Amazon Prime is targeting Erica Lorraine Spencer with knowledge. A corporation that's engaging in stalking is a corporation that's engaging in stalking with the government, as the government, in the government's shoes, with everybody else, including Chafee High School. Everybody else knows who I am. All right, and so does Diversified Landscaping Company. On the opposite side of the freeway, fake sun is moving in alignment to me. P.O.C. All right, at the location yesterday, these third parties are engaging in gang stalking. They are including what is their job, what they're for. They're including that corporation. The corporation is including its employees as a guise of surveillance committed in furtherance of murder, not merely surveillance. So this is unprecedented criminal activity committed by the corporate entity whose employees are serving to prosecute the corporation itself. This is Diversified Landscaping that also is on the record stalking me by helicopter in Upland, California at the 10 freeway, where they are engaging in stalking with light. This is the P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently, by the way, 6:54 a.m., where they're engaging in what their focus yesterday in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Satan doesn't have to look at you. It's better that you don't say anything. But the more that you do, the more that you're getting toward that mental institution. There is no getting out of this prosecution where you first seek to criminally defame somebody else, and everything about what you're doing is going to put you in that mental institution. But you will see them under the fake sun during the 1 p.m., 2 p.m. hour, where the natural environment would never include that. That is requiring that this is sitting here for another 5 hours at least. It's 6:55, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. You're talking about over 6 hours. While you can look as focused as you want. And that's why they're going to be committed. If you think that your being committed is going to hinge on your facial expression, you deserve to be in that mental institution. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:55 a.m. Nine Yolanda Victor 480. 9 George Queen Xavier 040. Bostic 4XG 4540. 9 VHC 307. Number one, the first angle of analysis is that this is a population that is stalking while I exit the up and public. And this fake sun is on this side of the same street at Euclid Avenue and Arrow Highway. In between D Street, D as in dog. And that is a phenomenon where the Upland Unified School District, those that are in the custody of children, that are exercising authority over children, that are engaging in vagina monitoring, that are stalking on the roads and the highways, that are engaging in the mentally ill practice of stalking with light. I want you to see that is operating the Metrolink train. That's the entity that's, while I'm in the inside of this library, amplifying train activity. That which you cannot hear. Because you can see it doesn't mean you can hear it. When you're on the train, your ears are not bleeding. But this is just ongoing common sense. The entity is going to be diagnosed with mental illness while they stalk with audible activity, while Metrolink is monitoring me while I'm inside of the Upland Public Library. The reason why I'm starting this video prosecuting an entity is because Anthony Rodriguez and Hadel Chiappini are going to prison, okay? They engaged in sexual assault and battery via the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, number one. Michael Lowe is going to federal prison while he committed sexual assault and battery with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, number two. The entity is engaging in what is kidnapping pursuant to fictitious authority, which is what exists under the fake sun, where you are engaging in surveillance, not law enforcement. So you are stalking me while you claim to have a warrant for my arrest, and that arrest was a kidnapping. And you know that because you're also monitoring my evidence as I publish it on the internet, that which you also refer to, not because you're free to while it's on the internet, but because you're monitoring on the internet. Federal stalking is underway on my device as I use the internet, proven through that Ontario Police Department. The military stalking by planes and helicopters, including while I use my devices and publish onto the website where you do not have any authority to engage in criminal monitoring. This is where the entity is stalking at 7:19 a.m. at Stater Brothers at, let's be clear, 646 West Holt Boulevard is not over anywhere near in between Arrow Highway and D Street at Euclid Avenue, creating my shadow right here over the building, okay? Like it is in the middle of the afternoon, like it was while I arrived at 1 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. But yet Anthony Rodriguez is under it. On July 13, 2026, where this entity, Upland Unified School District, committed sexual assault and battery. They wanted to see my breasts. They wanted to see my waistline. They wanted to see my vagina. They wanted me to take my clothes off in a specific sequence so that they can see my body parts so I don't have an opportunity to cover anything up while I was kidnapped, while I was being monitored and gang stalked by San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, who kidnapped me with the demons, the vagina monitors of the Ontario Police, who engage in criminal summoning with the people of the state. Stater Brothers is third party 9PJC387. They're gang stalking. That's the corporation, the people of the state. The people of the state are stalking on the roads and the highways. EVOFDTH, gang stalking. Edgar's going to prison, okay? The entity engages in criminal summoning on July 13, 2026. Doing so because you are hostile to me prosecuting you for monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. Just like the people of the state, Greco and Sons is a sex offender committing sexual assault and battery right now. That's a demon that's operating a vehicle that is not going to result in any light activity that would touch me. This isn't even the sun. It's over Stater Brothers at 646 West Holt. What is Greco and Sons engaging in? Greco and Sons is engaging in sexual assault and battery committed as an entity. That is the perpetual sex offense. That's a sex offender, a corporation being prosecuted as such. While that that corporation is stalking, they're stalking and further into murder. This is how this prosecution is going to go. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct is keeping the fake sun in Ontario at Stater Brothers on Hope Boulevard at the same time where Anthony Rodriguez is reciting, that is admitting to kidnapping, while Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court has no authority under the law, gang stalking, engaging in surveillance, conspiring my murder. Neither does San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. They don't have any authority. The entities engaging in this P.O.C. while they are monitoring. And this is the evidence of it. The fake sun is over this venue after 7 p.m. in the evening. The entity keeps this fake sun over me at the same time in Stater Brothers in Ontario, while the people of the state are maintaining obsessive surveillance. This is the P.O.C. They're going to prison. That's the long and short of it. And they're going to prison while you need to know the entity is engaged in what is vagina monitoring, and the entity commits kidnapping just so that they can engage in sexual assault and battery and criminal defamation. This is why the Baker Act is being repealed. This is P.O.C. All right, Brinks Security is stalking under the fake sun with the Upland Public Library and the Upland City Hall. Brinks is doing so under the fake sun that's remaining at Woodside Senior Apartments 24 hours ago. It remains there until after 1 o'clock, where I captured the fake sun over the apartment where I'm being stalked by helicopters, okay? Brinks has a whole playlist which you can view on the YouTube website, the platform prosecuting the corporate entity, including Brinks Security, that's engaged in the conspiracy to commit murder, carrying weapons, while engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring with the military that is stalking at the Upland City Hall. Bill Velto's being federally prosecuted for this. Just like Paul Leon, while the entity is stalking all night long with planes and helicopters, Brinks Security is engaged in criminal facilitation. This is Exhibit A. The fake sun is over me. Moving from where it's at the center. This is the P.O.C. They are going to prison for wearing weapons and gang stalking. Whether you're wearing a corporation label, whether you're wearing the identification of a police department or a security guard. This is the P.O.C., the federal plate. It's recognizing the federal government that's stalking. License plate 2933993, Indiana. That's the City Hall targeting me again. The City Hall, Upland City Hall, the City of Upland is also targeting when they have the entity gang stalking by tree trimming in the middle of the street under the fake sun. I arrived here after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That video will be juxtaposed in order to prosecute that driver and prosecute the corporation. You are being federally prosecuted, bring security for gang stalking me in concert with the government. Okay, this is the P.O.C. You are aiding in the conspiracy to murder an American citizen, and you are criminally liable for it. This is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 9:03 a.m. under the fake sun that is over me. You can see the screenshots that I captured. They're already published. The entity's gang stalking. I took a picture of the entity stalking by aircraft. The entity was stalking by aircraft over my head as I walked out of the Upland Public Library yesterday. This is Brink Security that's engaged in vagina monitoring. That's what you need to know about those demons. While they're going into a city hall, a state facilitating venue, the government, the municipality that's engaged in criminal activity with a bunch of demons, bunch of homeless gang stalking minions. Okay? There is no hierarchy amongst them. This is the entity that's engaging in this P.O.C. and doing so where the entity is simultaneously remaining over Woodside. And guess what's happening in Avanath Capital Management and Brighthaven? The entity is being federally prosecuted while Brink Security prosecutes you in Upland, California, because that's not the sun over me at that apartment building. That's the evidence of surveillance in an apartment. A sex offender engages in surveillance in an apartment. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 9:04 a.m. The high-pitched beeping, this is the audible activity that Stater Brothers had monitoring. The audible activity that the Upland Public Library had on the inside of the library while the psychopaths Marty and Sheena walked around like they didn't know what was happening. That was in the middle of the afternoon when they're monitoring to it. Psychopaths that are going to be diagnosed by their mentally ill behavior. This is the entity that is stalking while I am showing you the evidence of a fake sun that's going to serve to prosecute the corporation Brinks that's engaged in criminal monitoring. All right, and it is a threat to the public where you are actually engaged in criminal activity simultaneous to the business practices that includes you bearing weapons while you're given a level of what is trust that's what's inherent to a job where you're carrying a weapon like Brink Security is, and they're actually engaged in criminal monitoring. That's what Brink Security has not exposed to the public. That's what's not a part of the purpose of Brink Security gang stalking with the U.S. military in furtherance of murder, not for the protection of those that they're delivering and receiving monies from. They're gang stalking. And the evidence of it is the fake sun, which I'm pulling up on Google Maps. And as I do so, demons, a whole family of pathetic demons with their demon-possessed child, P.O.C, go to the Upland Public Library under the fake sun while the entity is stalking, flying over my head in a small plane. That's prosecuting Cable Airport. That's gang stalking. And the entity is engaging in the same pattern of conduct that they're doing, which they were doing all night long. Remember, at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, the entity was stalking just gratuitously. All right? They're stalking. That's the pattern of conduct. It doesn't stop right now. They're stalking in the Upland City Hall, and they're collecting paychecks as employees. This is being defunded. Okay? They're clocking in at work while the government maintains a means of surveillance, maintaining establishments, businesses, even facilitating venues such as the municipality itself that's engaging in surveillance. That's why the military is engaging in terrorism right at the city hall, where the mayor and the city council are not looking out for the best interests of American citizens with whom they're gang stalking, and American citizens like myself who have a right to not be gang stalked by the mayor. They're not looking out for my best interests. I am not protected. I'm threatened. I'm targeted. And on this street, Euclid Avenue, Brink Security is gang stalking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Where in the natural environment will Florida also share the one sun to be anywhere in that state to create any sort of sunlight, where I have evidence of March 6, 2026, which is giving away just 1 hour regarding Pacific Standard Time, which is not going to make legitimate the entity that has the fake sun on the same street at Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue, this same street. And that's what I'm pulling up while the entity engages in monitoring and stalking. This is exactly what they did by helicopter last night, flying over my head while I am publishing evidence damning. This is the entity that engages in more stalking, corroborating the evidence that I'm publishing on the internet. And then that evidence of stalking, meaning you're monitoring my device, you're monitoring on the internet, where you are under surveillance, YouTube, for shadow banning my evidence so that I could be secretly murdered and targeted and stolen from while you profit from it. A facilitating venue on the internet. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:41 a.m.
9:56 a.m. So I want you to see the mentally ill that do carry minor children. They give birth to them. These are demons. These are vagina monitors. These are child rapists. These are pedophiles. These are stalkers. These are undiagnosed psychopaths, okay? And they're crowding around the door where the entity has the fake sun this morning, and I'm still at Woodside Senior Apartments yesterday. This is the entity that is stalking by helicopter, stalking with corporations like Brink Security. The entity engaging what is criminal summoning, COLLIN, SHEEHY, you're talking about prison. You're talking about Bill Velto, the Upland City Council, prison. The employees, Sheena's already inside because she was monitoring and her name was a reference. I took a picture of her stalking under the fake sun. She's stalking with helicopters. She's going to prison. She's stalking, remember, on video, and she's looking perplexed like she didn't know what the high-pitched beeping sound was for while she was under that fake sun. That's why she's being diagnosed. She's being diagnosed right now. Okay, this is the entity that's stalking. While Brink Security, that employee is going to be subject to prison. He's carrying a gun while stalking me with the entity that's testifying against him right now by stalking by helicopter, just like they were at the Ontario Ovid Family Community Library, where lily white demons give birth to demons and gang stalk in California. This is the entity that's stalking in the bathroom, and they take their children to commit that sex offense while they are together monitoring. Okay, the entities engaged in this Upland Wi-Fi is the crime scene on the video of the internet. This is indeed the P.O.C. Marcelo Blanco, this is prison. They committed kidnapping. Darren Goodman, he's in San Bernardino, gang stalked with the San Bernardino Police Department. He is not escaping prison. This is the entity that's engaged in the shared identical P.O.C. And this is what they did last night while I'm in use of my device. I just want you to be clear. While you're looking at them gang stalking, look at the face of Satan. See them wrinkles? These are demons that are gang stalking, doing so with minor children, doing so under the fake sun. This is terrorism by the city of Upland. This is all going to be defunded. All of it. Okay, that's the P.O.C. There's no sun that's over Woodside Senior Apartments at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. While you're, ooh, look at the helicopter. That's a demon. That's the P.O.C. There's no sun that's going to be over this location. Okay, this is the entity that sends her demonic child to stand by me while she's gang stalking. She likes to go in the bathroom monitoring my vagina. Okay, she's already on video gang stalking, and that's the entity that just provided evidence against Brink Security, Marcelo Blanco, COLLIN, SHEEHY, that's San Bernardino County Fire, that's Upland Police, the demons that are gang stalking up and down Euclid Avenue, just like, let me show you what this is, just like the entity that is Brink Security, prosecuting the public entity. So let me show you what the entity just engaged in, what is testimony against Brinks, the corporation who is going to be federally prosecuted. That demon is wearing a weapon while he is stalking. That's an unlawful threat to your life, and you are being prosecuted. He completed that crime on behalf of the government that then punctuates that criminal act while it is documented and published online, threatening my life, which is Brink Security. You're being prosecuted for that threat to my life while I document you gang stalking. I'm subject to more terrorism stalking by helicopter with your own co-defendant. Okay, this is the entity that is engaged in this. This is being published on X, and so is the entity stalking by helicopter. Everybody inside that's going to open the Upland Public Library is going to prison. It includes Sheena and the rest of the entity that is engaged in this. The entity is maintaining the fake sun yesterday while I'm publishing this about Brinks. This is going on the internet. This is how you're aware that they're mentally ill, because it's still going on the internet. But that's the entity's P.O.C. They engage in criminal summoning. San Bernardino County Fire, that's in the same parking lot where I have already documented the fake sun in the middle of the afternoon. This is the serial stalker who's going to prison. Let me give you a face-to-face of him. He's going to federal prison. This big face African-American demon is serially present monitoring vagina. He's present here. He's going to prison. This is the entity that's engaging in gang stalking, just like the city of Ontario with the military stalking in this helicopter, openly engaging in terrorism with the people that say, this is what you see? The entity that's engaged in this is the unabated program of psychological torture. Okay? They're going to prison for that. That's the P.O.C. This is what the entity is doing while the fake sun, let's recall where it's at, while it's already over Upland Public Library, where I am present on 1 Street, Euclid Avenue, where I'm coming from, where is the origin, Ontario, yesterday, in the middle of the afternoon. And let's see what that looks like at Woodside Senior Apartments, where the impossible is documented in order to prosecute terrorists like those who are oohing and awing at the helicopter while they are gang stalking in concert with that entity engaging in helicopter. The entity is stalking by helicopter also under the fake sun in the middle of the afternoon. Okay, that's the P.O.C. I want you to see the entity that is in the middle of the afternoon at this same intersection as I'm arriving, walking north of Euclid Avenue.
past the gang stalkers at 711 240 North Euclid Avenue. The fake sun is remaining over me. This is the entity that is under the fake sun stalking by helicopter right now. It's 2 p.m. after 2 p.m. where I am present arriving here at the Upland Public Library at 2:26 p.m. This is when I arrived yesterday, and it's a matter of evidence. This is the circumstances where demons are looking up at what else are you going to do when you are on camera, when you're a psychopath, when you're on camera stalking and engaging in that criminal activity, acknowledging it because the entity listens to me document and diagnose them while they act like it's not happening. The entity is engaging in what is pointing out the criminal activity while they are with children engaging in the P.O.C. While you act like nothing is happening, you are being diagnosed as a psychopath. While you look up at the helicopter, which is the entity engaging in that pattern of conduct under the phenomenon, the fake sun that is here at 2:26 is the fake sun that is here right now at what is now 10:02 a.m. And the entity is engaging in this while they are monitoring what is going online. The evidence of Brink's security gang stalking with Upland City Hall. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that together. That's the entity that is indeed monitoring. And this is pacing around. This is pacing. This is the entity that's engaged in that Upland City Hall. They're being federally prosecuted. Everything that's happening at the Upland Public Library is happening at the Upland City Hall. This is 460 and this is 450. Okay, this is the entity that engages in that, and this is the unabated program of psychological torture, where the entity is engaging in these tactics against American citizens, and I'm prosecuting and proving it. So they're going to prison for defaming my character and trying to kill me. That's the same entity that's gang stalking. Ooh, look at the helicopter, while they are stalking inside of this building where the fake sun remains all day. Okay, they are stalking every corner inside of that building. They keep covered. They are engaging in psychopathic pacing just like they are in helicopters and planes. This is what the people of the state are doing inside of that building. This is the P.O.C. All right, they are walking, pacing is what this is as an entity of demons, and they're doing so while they are monitoring evidence on the internet, where there is no warrant or probable cause to do so with the people of the state who are in the shoes of the government that just flew over gang stalking in plain view. Okay, this is the P.O.C. This is the X that the entity is monitoring. So I didn't clear that. You saw that? That's the entity that's engaged in obstruction, monitoring on the venue of the internet. X is a facilitating venue. Okay, just like YouTube is a facilitating venue. Google needs to understand, and you will understand because I'm prosecuting, and you've already lost in this case. While my evidence is shadow banned online, the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct and is engaging in the pattern of conduct. I'm going to publish this evidence of my evidence regarding Brinks right now. It's even in this video. But the entity is engaging in this while my platform is shadow banned. My platform that has 202 subscribers, I have over 11,000 videos, and I've been publishing evidence as of 2018. The entity that is shadow banning is simultaneously targeting. This is criminal cooperation facilitation by Google, who's being prosecuted while I am posting evidence that YouTube is suppressing while others are making money, profiting off of my targeting. They're targeting online, and they're doing so in concert with the military. That is, Google is gang stalking at the Upland Public Library, facilitating the psychological torture, enabling and sharing in that criminal pattern of conduct, stalking me and monitoring me together, while Google is doing that criminal endeavor on the venue of the internet by suppressing the evidence that I publish online. Google is engaged in the criminal conspiracy to commit murder. Google is doing so by shadow banning my content that the other entity, the people of the state, are not shadow banned using my content. However, this is very specific targeting online, targeting that is in furtherance of the conspiracy to murder, in concert with that entity that just flew over my head by helicopter under the fake sun, where I am yesterday still remaining in Ontario, California. Okay, and I did not walk out of apartment number 82 until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So let's look at that. And there is, under no circumstances, any natural environment. This is what Brink Security is surrounded by as well. There is no natural environment where, I just want to be clear, Frank Nieto's going to prison, and so is Brink Security. The entity pulls out helicopter with regard to Brink Security being exposed. Brink Security being exposed, which is through this video evidence as well. Brink Security being exposed is the entire entity: Upland Police, Ontario Police, San Bernardino County Fire, Ontario Fire, the state of California, and every fire department, every police department that is gang stalking. This is speaking to the entity that stalked me with a fake sign as I'm walking north of Euclid Avenue, and I am here before 7. I'm here during the 7 a.m. hour today, where the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and then they underscored it with stalking by helicopter as I embarrass the defeated, demon-possessed who are mentally ill, who are stalking at a library, doing so with children while they are engaging in that P.O.C. This is the evening at Woodside Senior Apartments. This is the afternoon where I am walking out of that apartment and the entity is gang stalking. So this is what upon exiting apartment 82, and this is the entity that is under this. Okay, this is 1:05 p.m. And then I go about documenting the P.O.C. and I capture the first video at 1:11 p.m., 1:12 p.m. The fake sun is over me already where the entity is sounding sirens. This is what they're doing while I'm publishing the evidence about Brinks. And the entity is stalking by helicopter. That is, the city of Upland is targeting with the military. And terrorist leaders like COLLIN, SHEEHY, Daniel Muncie, Marcelo Blanco, Daniel Goodman is not removed. Bill Velto, while the fake sun is in Upland, and yesterday I stayed at an apartment where there's not more than one. This isn't that, this is one here, and it's remaining over Woodside over Unit 82. Bill Velto is inside gang stalking. The entity did so while helicopter activity flew circles over my head. This is what the entity did last night.
P.O.C. Same formula, and this is evidence that Avanath Capital Management employees are going to prison, and so are the residents gang stalking in that apartment building where the entity was stalking me inside of an apartment, which is supposed to be a private space. The U.S. government that's not respecting the constitutional rights of American citizens, in fact, they gang stalk them, they terrorize them and murder them. And that is what is proven while the entity is stalking me at the Obit Family Community Library.
So as you hear on the podcast, as the entity went silent by helicopter, as I started capturing video, they're monitoring, the entity resumed that by podcast. And I captured that audio, the entity stalking, flying, pacing over, and the people of the state pacing as I took pictures after the entity flies over the top of my head and moves to stay again.
P.O.C. The same formula. And this is evidence that Avanath Capital Management employees.
And the entity, and I'm referring to the entity stalking by helicopter at Woodside Senior Apartments where the fake sun was sitting idle. And the entity engaged in stalking by helicopter while I'm publishing the video of you stalking me as an entity yesterday, August 12, 2020.
The government is keeping under surveillance.
Like what is happening today at the Upland Public Library where the supernatural, that's a stage. So that was poor acting by the mentally ill who look up, oh, look at the helicopter while you are gang stalking me with a child, as though that is some fascinating circumstance with regard to your ignorance about what's going on. There's no ignorance under the evidence of surveillance of the fake sun. Okay, that's the entity that's being diagnosed by its own criminal activity. There are not two suns, so there is not this that's going to stay here, which also evidence shows that it stays here all day long, including stalking by helicopter in this library, while the entity is keeping this same fake sun over me in the middle of the afternoon at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is not simultaneously remaining over Woodside Senior Apartments, where I am present at 1:05 p.m. yesterday, walking to this venue in the afternoon. This is impossible to coexist with any natural environment that is existing in Florida, and this is the entity that is engaging in this impossible circumstance. This is the Upland City Hall, Upland Public Library. The fake sun is over me as I'm present yesterday, and I am showing you that pattern of conduct. This is 2:18 p.m. and the fake sun is over me right now, and I'm arriving this morning at the bottom you can see at 7:27 a.m. The fake sun, you're talking about 3 hours. That's the pattern of conduct. The entity's keeping the fake sun over me, stalking by helicopter. The same pattern, okay? This is the entity that's engaging. I want to include, this is a serial stalker. It is going on the playlist. He is going to prison. The entity engaging in what is holding the hands of a child, going, ooh, look at the helicopter, going to sleep in relevant position. This is an entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. That's why the fake sun is here. You're not sleeping, you're manning the path, okay? And that's what he's doing inside of the library on behalf of the employees who need help stalking me so heavily. They need help stalking with noise, and that's the entity on whose behalf they're stalking and monitoring and psychologically torturing and sexually violating. All of the employees are going to prison, and Sheena knows that. That black helicopter is testifying against her. She is going to prison, and they will be subject to mental examinations.
including the demons that are stalking with sirens. The departments are being defunded. And the entity is indeed gang stalking as a matter of evidence regarding the city hall. They've been out here sweeping, which is pacing. The leaves aren't going anywhere. The entity is stalking under this fake sun. I want you to see this. This is the P.O.C. You're remembering what Nicholas is lying about last night, talking about he doesn't know if I was using my phone. He was just saying it. He made a blatant assumption. It's not an assumption. It's a conclusion that he makes based on knowledge. That's why the entity is stalking me by helicopter as I use my device. Nicholas and the Wendy's employees are going to prison as well. This is the Upland City Hall that's engaged in criminal monitoring. Just want you to see where the mayor's office, he's being removed from office. All right, I'm coming inside, engaging in the P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that is going to be defunded. Not different, as you can see, from the city of Ontario. Gang stalking, right? This is where the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct. The entity is stalking me by helicopter at the Upland City Hall. The Upland City Hall is engaged in criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder. And this is not engagement in what is the business of the people. It is with regard to corrupt purposes because the people are engaged in the conspiracy to murder targeted individuals. This is the P.O.C. The entity is flying over the Upland City Hall. The Upland City Hall is being federally prosecuted for the conspiracy to murder, and the gang stalking mayor is being prosecuted, not just being removed from office. This entity also committed kidnapping. This is documented in 2022 on more than one occasion. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that has a fake sun that is arriving during the 2 p.m. hour yesterday over me while you are stalking by going to the trash can. That's crossing path, okay? They're crossing path on the traffic, on the roads and the highways. They are stalking and monitoring while they are at the entrance, and you're looking at the diabolical sex rapists who give birth to children and gang stalk. All right, those are lesbians who are obsessed with me, and they're obsessed with my vagina. They are engaged in stalking with the government. They are the demon possessed. They are the Nephilim. In case you did not know, the Nephilim, unfortunately, are procreating. That is speaking to what is a matter of the necessity of martial law. They fill the Upland Public Library right now, gang stalking, and they're doing so under the phenomenon. And the entity is engaged in this P.O.C. with regard to what is monitoring my device. There is no such thing as any warrant or probable cause to engage in statewide surveillance pursuant to what is a criminal conspiracy to murder, one that you sought to criminally defame, not because of any sort of criminal act that I've committed. And this is no investigation where subject to some investigation. This is blatant stalking and terrorism, not an investigation, not any legitimate investigation. The entity is blatantly stalking in helicopters. That's not how you conduct an investigation for an alleged perpetrator. This is the P.O.C. Everybody in here, the employees are going to prison. This is P.O.C. So the question is, what is over the Upland Public Library? What is this light if it's remaining over Woodside Senior Apartments? And these are psychopaths. This is Alyssa, that is after during the 2 p.m. hour, who was under the fake sun, as I took a picture of it right here at this desk yesterday afternoon. I'm here hours earlier. This is literally impossible. And the entity engages in this. They keep their heads down. They engage in what is stalking with noise. That's ongoing psychopathic systematic harassment while the light just cycles through the building, okay? While they maintain surveillance in bathrooms where sex offenders carry babies, gang stalking and furtherance of murder. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's going to be committed and losing custody of children. Stalking with the helicopter activity that's supposed to be rebutted by carrying activity creators. This is the P.O.C. So let me show you the threat that is. Alrighty. This is not simultaneously going to be over Woodside Senior Apartments, nor is it going to remain in Ontario for the duration of the day, but that's what I'm documenting. This is the pattern of conduct. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. Upland Public Library is going to be defunded, and all the employees are going to prison. That's Carissa over there. That is Alan, and that's Alicia downstairs. This is gang stalking. All right, this is a means of surveillance. Just bringing in a kid, gang stalking with them, doing so under a whole fake sun. All right, that spoils the purpose of the props that are the kids, and that is the paycheck getting paid here. This is the entity that's monitoring. This is Adam Tuckerman, who is indeed monitoring. All right, this is P.O.C. Stalking by helicopter. He's going to prison. He's very mentally deranged. They all are. Alrighty, this is the entity that is competing with the evidence of a fake sun that's remaining over me on Euclid Avenue, where LA County is stalking me on Euclid Avenue under that fake sun. Don't forget about that. The entity that's engaging in this while I am en route to this venue, and I am here, and so is the fake sun. All right, that is speaking to what is a system that everybody comes and participates in, and they literally did it on camera and even engaged in, ooh, look at the helicopter while you're stalking, while you are engaging in the stalking. That's the evidence of the psychopathic disorder. Alrighty, this is the entity that's being, remember, gang stalking is a sex offense. The entity is engaging in surveillance in the bathroom. All right, and that's what you know by the entity stalking by helicopter. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:17 a.m. This is relevant to what you will see published on X. The entity Brink's security is being federally prosecuted for terrorizing me as I document them gang stalking me in furtherance of murder, and that is their co-defendant stalking by helicopter as they are documented gang stalking, and it's also evidence corroborating the fact that you're gang stalking. By the way, the entity on whose behalf you are gang stalking is testifying against you. This is P.O.C. It is 10:17 a.m. Okay, that was very, very vivid and highly probative evidence of the stage that the employees like Marty was stalking by staring at a bookcase. You see the communication device in her lumpy back pocket. She is stalking while the fake sun is over me, which I'm capturing right now in another picture. And the fake son is remaining in Ontario, California at this time, where the entity is stalking. So is Adam Tuckerman. They're surrounding me. This is threatening conduct, and the employees are all going to prison, and they're also mentally ill. They're demons. They are being aided by the people of the state who come in to pace all around me obsessively. If I go right, if I go left, if I sit still, while I'm operating my devices, using the laptops, they're pacing all around while a fake sun remains over the venue. That's why you are able to see what is a very much underscored, highlighted, enhanced stage, okay, where everybody's very psychotic act is put on display. They are in the environment where the entity typically covers up the fake sun, which is equally probative. I come the next day, I've already captured the fake sun. You're just showing how psychotic you are. The fake sun is shining, and it's 24 hours ago remaining at a whole different city, specifically over that building where it's supposed to be sunlight all over the place and a natural environment. For those defendants at that location, you look like a psychopath. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct stalking by helicopter, and then you walk in and like nothing is happening. They're going to be diagnosed for severe mental instability. It's the entity that is gang stalking that is mentally ill, not the American citizens that are being criminally defamed by the psychopaths that are in the medical field that inform and guide in this unsuccessful system, clearly capable of being documented as a matter of tangible evidence, where you cannot procure what is any sort of diagnosis that is based on facts, which are required in order to diagnose any mental illness. It's not magical tricks that you're engaging in just because you have the letters behind your name and you just say, oh, I think you're bipolar, where there have to be facts and circumstances that suggest you getting to that conclusion. This is the entity that just This is the entity that merely relies on its position in the requisite medical field and essentially engages in name calling that appear as though they are based on some research, based on some expertise, based on knowledge, based on study of the actual person and any sort of character, any sort of observations, where the entities engaging in essentially name calling, reliance upon their position, where they are also not providing any sort of information or circumstances, facts that would support you getting to any sort of conclusion. That's how you refer to it in the legal field. Facts and circumstances speaking to why an issue is relevant and what is the analysis with regard to your reaching any sort of conclusion. It is not different in the practice of medicine. It is different material. However, under the law, you have to still meet what are elements in order to satisfy what is required to diagnose. And this is also the case when you are in a court of law stating that someone suffers from some sort of
mental illness, okay, which is very broad, and it is intentionally made this way for the abuse of those that are in the medical field engaging in gang stalking. This is a system where the entity uses the knowledge, the expertise in the medical field to engage in what are dark psychological practices, which are supposed to be effective. I'm exposing them and prosecuting and diagnosing the psychopaths that are practicing this, that are not also engaging in the practice of practice of medicine. And it's also, as a consequence, the practice of law, because they're engaging in what is using legislation in order to defame you, when all they're doing is name calling and using their position to justify their name calling, which is based on absolutely nothing. And you have these that are abusing their position, that are literally in the position to make up circumstances, make up, even exaggerate, engage in what is embellishing what they find to be some sort of cause for a diagnosis, which then results in what is your loss of liberty, your loss of what should be your right. And upon surveillance, as I am showing you, where the entity has combined this with what is targeting American citizens in order to steal from them by misdiagnosing them, by literally kidnapping, stalking, psychologically torturing them in order to create the illusion of mental illness, when you are actually a fragile human being, perhaps, that is reacting to being poorly treated by a government, which would reasonably outrage anyone. This isn't mental illness. This is the entity that's engaging in what is badgering you, tormenting you, and then engaging in voyeurism, and then using that as evidence of mental illness. And that is not diagnosing, and that is not the practice of medicine either. This is the entity that engages in these tactics. What the entity has done with regard to myself, the entity has made up information while kidnapping me and claiming that I'm dead, and merely making up information that I am mentally ill. Why is it that I'm mentally ill? How is it that you know that I'm mentally ill? I have no relationship with any of these so-called medical professionals. I have never been lawfully in the custody, meaning Arrowhead Regional Medical Center committed kidnapping with the stalkers that are following me around in helicopters, and by police departments. San Antonio Regional Hospital committed kidnapping with the entity that is following me around in helicopters and stalking. The same Ontario Police Department. The entity is engaging in what is criminal defamation with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. That's no coincidence. When you're engaging in what is criminal acts regarding kidnapping, and then when I am in the custody of what would be presumably a legitimate sheriff's department, but you're looking at them abide by, conform to the same pattern of conduct on no basis whatsoever, other than someone that is engaging in what is that conspiracy to criminally defame and ultimately murder, and upon kidnapping, by putting you in the mental ward area of the jail where you're kidnapped, and you are not there by any patient. You are not there legally. You are not creating any patient-doctor relationship. You are not diagnosing anything. You are engaging in gang stalking in that facility. You're engaging in that while you are stalking and monitoring, and the targeted individual who happens to be, I'm referring to myself, the entity is gang stalking me while I'm on the cameras in these facilities, holding up signs, identifying myself, my bar number, my booking number, the farcical charges pursuant to targeting me, the area of law that it's applicable to. And the entity engaged in what they have to do. They have to act like I am not somebody that is clearly not mentally ill, and just, that's just another patient. That is not the practice of medicine. That's entirely unreasonable as well. There's nothing on the surface nor in substance that ever enabled this entity to engage in kidnapping. The reason why I'm going into this is because this is the entity that's severely psychotic. And upon what is essentially calumny, they engage in what is creating legislation to get away with stealing. It's a calculated long-term investment in theft committed by the government that is stalking. You will never diagnose mental illness when you are first stalking as that same entity. You are not acquiring any legitimacy by that. This is an entity that's sitting around in a library. This is how that system operates. The psychopaths are stalking by sitting all around in the library, moving as they need to move in order to surround me, doing so as employees, Adam Tuckerman, Marty, Sheena, Alicia, Alan, Carissa, that are doing so. The entity just engaged in what is maintaining a whole show by helicopter activity, just like the show at the Ovid Family Community Library, in concert with who? The people of the state who tethered themselves to dogs pacing all around in the engineer light. And at this time, the entity is keeping even its environment is a stage, because the sun,
There's only one. In a natural environment, you're defying science now. We're still acting like nothing's happening? Oh, okay. So the sun is over the building. The entity's flying in circles over me by helicopter. We're looking up in the sky. Ooh, look at the helicopter. And the fake sun that's engaging in also supernatural presence in the sky over me, while I'm simultaneously showing evidence of it being in an entirely different city, while I have yet to even undertake that walk from Ontario yesterday at this time. The entities engaging in this conduct, while they are exhibiting severe mental instability, they are being aided as employees inside of the venue. And this is the entity that engages in this with regard to the information, the guidance of the deranged psychopaths who engage in dark psychological practices, which they gain from studying psychiatry, from studying medicine, and engaging in this targeting conduct where they can manufacture, engineer the illusion, the appearance, that is, of what is supposed to be mental illness. But that is only, as I've shown, it does not do that. Not in fact. When you're legitimately practicing law, you will never get to what is criminally defaming the targeted individual. When you are legitimately practicing medicine, you will never get that conclusion. It requires the pattern of conduct, which is speaking to everyone, is gang stalking. Everyone is targeting. The police, the people of the state, the police, the sheriff's department, the court, the so-called medical professionals. It requires that. If any aspect were actually not engaged in the pattern of conduct, you would never get that result of criminal defamation. And this is the hula hoops the entity had to jump through to defame my character, to add one harmful, malignant adjective in the description of my character while you're looking at the entity monitoring what I'm publishing online, very much fearful of my advanced ability to critique you, to diagnose you, speak very clearly and detailed with regard to how you're not doing your job as I know it. I don't have to be educated in psychology. I don't have to have a degree, rather. I don't have to have a degree in psychology to show that they're mentally ill and that they are corrupt and that they've engaged in criminal activity targeting and that they do it through corrupt legislation. And that's supposed to provide a stamp of legitimacy when all they're doing is name calling. They're name calling and they're engaging in what is relying on their positions. They do it in a courtroom. That's supposed to make it official. They are doing it in reliance on their positions where they are not questioned. They are not reasonably questioned. And they do this pursuant to a pattern of conduct. They're not intended to be questioned. This is what the court needs in order to get the result that the gang stalking court desires in conformity to that P.O.C. And this is why you have the military, the Upland police stalking by helicopter. This is why you have the military and the Ontario police stalking me by helicopter. This is why you have the military and the Fontana police stalking me by helicopter. This is why you have the military and the Los Angeles police and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department stalking by helicopter. How about that? I've got actually a pattern of conduct throughout the counties where the mentally ill enter the building under the phenomenon and everyone's hush, like nothing is happening. This is the evidence of mental illness upon corruption. And this is an outright failure of that entire plot. There are substantial damages. In fact, it's going to be the population itself that shall be impoverished by levying war, conspiring the murder of one person. That is under all circumstances, under every other circumstance, successful. Okay? The entity is very much aware of my advanced status, my advanced abilities. And this is not gloating, this is factual because this entity has tried to defame my character. So the truth must be that I am exceptionally advanced. This is why you are threatened and stalking overtly by helicopter. You're willing to incriminate yourself, damn yourself, because you're that much fearful of what it is that I will speak about you, and I still speak it about you. In fact, you're so mentally ill and you're so fearful of the truth that I speak and the advanced manner in which I speak it that you engage in exposing yourself as guilty.
Everyone is looking back at what they stated in courtrooms. Everyone is looking back at evidence that they supposedly presented about me, evidence that was presented in courtrooms about me pertaining to property that belongs to me, that was never disclosed to me, that was concealed from me while the entity has lied about my being dead. But the people of the state know that I'm not dead. They've been gang stalking. They've been gang stalking just like this, acting like nothing is happening while they psychologically torture you. That is not going to get you any sort of mental illness on paper. In fact, it is going to result in your being diagnosed and your being confined in a mental institution. And I mean, every single last body in this Upland Public Library is very much subject to that. There is no such thing as having too many defendants. There's no such thing as that. There's no such thing as having too much justice for the targeted individual. The entity is targeting you through millions of people, those that are inside and outside of the United States, by the way. Those that are invested, like Amazon Prime, in your death. They're invested in it. They need it to happen. It's not going to happen. They're deranged. They are literally driving themselves into the mental institutions, and that's because of spell work, and that's because of their inferior status. These are demons, so I have spiritual authority. I'm not going to go into all that, but it's not going to work. It's not happening over a child of God. Moreover, it's not happening to one who was practiced and well-versed in the law. Not only do I know the law, but I know what your job is and what your obligations are before you try to diagnose anyone, someone that's not even a patient of yours, someone who you're targeting, someone who you are engaging in what is necessarily targeting to even speak on my name. How do you even know me? What was the basis of the encounter? What is the foundation of your information, of your source? This is the entity that's engaged in all manner of what is targeting. You will never get to what is criminal defamation, but for every single aspect of this entity being corrupt. And you saw a bunch of demons carrying babies, gang stalking with helicopter activity. Those are the mentally ill that are giving birth, and they are walking around undiagnosed. They're vagina monitors, child rapists, sex offenders, pedophiles, walking around holding the hands of children, which they surmise makes them look less guilty. There is nothing that can make you look sane or less guilty with that helicopter activity and a whole fake sun that is still remaining in Ontario 24 hours ago. NASA cannot help you. Okay? This is the entity that's engaging in that. This is that P.O.C. And this is a crime scene. The Upland Public Library shall be defunded. The entity is going to pay me with that money. The Upland City Hall, you are all losing your position. And it's not just Bill Velto, but the female that was holding office before Bill Velto was also gang stalking. She gang stalked me in my face while I attended the Upland City Hall. And I reported this in that Upland City Hall and the Upland Police Department. The military stalked me. It's a matter of evidence in 2019. You are not relieved from being federally prosecuted. There is no such thing when you're engaging in terrorism. There is no such thing under the law. You can run, but you can't hide. You are not escaping it. The entity that is engaging what is targeting and delaying justice, the entity is, I just want to be clear, you are the one that's going to be smacked in the face. You are the one that's going to be ambushed by justice. You are not escaping anything. There is no statute of limitations for domestic terrorism in the United States. I am prosecuting you. I'm prosecuting based on what you did as I documented. You are not escaping it. You're not moving anywhere. It doesn't matter what country you move to. It doesn't matter whether you change your life, give your life to Jesus. You're still going to answer for what you did under the law. Understand that. And I hope you do find Christ because you're saved. You need help. This is the entity, but there is no legal help that's going to save you from this prosecution. The entity that's engaged in this at the Upland Public Library is doing this as a whole population. They're doing this as an apartment complex. They're doing this aboard Omnitrans. They're doing this as the airline industry. They're doing this as an entire grocery store, an entire shopping plaza. They're doing this while they are living in the neighborhoods, gang stalking. They're doing this on the roads and the highways. This is a whole system. They've created legislation for this corrupt business of murdering, stalking, monitoring, and stealing from American citizens whom they know very well are very capable, highly competent, very advanced. Alrighty? And that's the truth behind gang stalking by helicopter. That will never create mental illness with regard to the legitimate practice of medicine. In fact, it creates the direct evidence rebutting that there is any mental illness because of evidence of an entity targeting you. But this is a corrupt entity, and that same corruption combined with what is severe ignorance is going to be what is federal imprisonment for many officials, for many of the people of the state, for many corrupt corporate entities like Brinks Security, who was gang stalking. That federal plate is red. And this is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct. You have a whole bunch of psychopaths that enter the library while they are on video engaging in that pattern of conduct, holding, clutching children, engaging in that conduct with the employees. And all the employees are going to prison, and so are the serial stalkers, and so are those who I document their faces. You will see their images. They're engaging in transactions with the Upland Public Library. They are being documented by the feds, who are watching everybody that enters and exits this venue, everybody that's stalking in relevant position, the airspace, the entities entirely under surveillance while they are while the entity is engaging in what is the provision of highly probative evidence regarding how threatening I am, regarding my advanced ability to speak the truth and prosecute and incriminate you. That's not evidence of mental instability. That's evidence of inferiority of this entity. And you're going to prison for criminal defamation. That shall be recognized under federal law. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 10:48 a.m. The entity is engaged in, you heard a little pause. And that's because the entity is monitoring. So that's the significance of a fake son that's sitting over Woodside Senior Apartments yesterday, doesn't leave until I leave at 1:05 p.m., remains over me as I leave. I walk what is, let's go direction by direction. I leave the apartment. I take a picture of the fake son. I do that on purpose because I'm prosecuting psychopaths who engage in, hi, oh, look at the helicopter. Oh, how are you? Have a nice day. Oh, good morning, Erica. Oh, let's play. Let's sing ABCs with the babies. Would you like to check out a book under the fake sun that's here 4 hours from now? That's what Alyssa's doing at the reference desk. Alyssa's facing a diagnosis for severe mental instability. This is evidence. These are facts and circumstances diagnosing mental instability. It's psychopathic and antisocial, to be specific. It's also that which is referring to and evidencing severe denial. Okay? This is the entity that creates the impulse to target, psychologically torture, violate, harm severely people that you have no business even knowing it about. You're stalking them and you want to harm them. And that is proven through her smiling face, through her presence at her job under a fake sun, in concert with the government that is present by helicopter, that is present monitoring and stalking with sirens, engaging in surveillance on my device on the internet, while the entity is engaged in that pattern of conduct, that whole crime scene where she is working in that environment. She is being both diagnosed and criminally convicted, both at the same time. That's the entity that's engaged in that, and they're doing so because of my advanced abilities, not because of any sort of incompetency. That has never been the case. These demons that have defamed me and gossip, it was essentially gossip in the courtroom that the entity upheld in my absence. While you were lying about me being dead, you received insurance benefits, you are lying about me being a criminal, spreading incurable STDs that you suffer. You have HIV. Oh, that was from that sex ritual that you engaged in. While all the psychopaths are inside of the Upland Public Library, clutching the hands of their children, they're engaging in what is this very criminal activity, while they are guilty of psychotic and reckless lifestyles, which they in their psychotic minds surmise is giving them spiritual authority. No, spiritual authority is when I'm telling you your rights, I'm telling you what's going to happen, I'm telling you even beforehand, and you're going to watch and everybody else is going to watch it happen to you. That's spiritual authority that nobody is imagining. That's not the product of any mental illness. In fact, it's the information of the world learning about the reality of the demon possessed and the reality of Christ Jesus, who is on the throne. This is the entity that's engaging in what is targeting the wrong person. And you're learning, you're witnessing how they are very severely deranged. You're going from the helicopter to the straitjacket. You're going from the police department, that police vehicle, stalking me with sirens around the corner where you're hiding, stalking me conspicuously crossing path on Euclid Avenue, to a federal cell where you're going to meet with that lady every week, and you're going to be subject to a battery of tests. You're going to be subject to an ongoing course of medication because of your inability to control yourself, which you're not going to be able to hide in that medical facility. You're not going to be able to hide it behind a uniform and a badge and a gun. All right, where your ego is satiated with authority that you are not worthy of, that you cannot even handle. You're a raging psychopath, a lunatic that is waiting for an opportunity to commit murder. Upland Police, Ontario Police, the U.S. military. This is the entity that's engaged in that conduct in concert with the people of the state. A whole bunch of lunatics that walked into the library while the entity engaged in. This is exactly what I've been telling you about, and they did it on camera again. Okay? This is the entity that's going to be subject to martial law. This is the entity that's going into poverty. They're going to be homeless. They're going to be living outside. They're not getting any federal assistance. Gavin Newsom will not be in office, and no official will be requesting federal funds because California's not going to get it. You're not getting anything. California is a terrorist. No terrorists receive any assistance. I don't care if it's for daycare. It doesn't matter if it's because you can't feed your children. This is the entity. It's going to be tough luck. Terrorists need to fight. They're going to learn how to figure it out on their own. There's no such thing as a right to any sort of assistance from the government. These are benefits. These are entitlements. These are privileges. These are the fruits of being in this country, all right, the spoils of being in this country. It's not required, and it certainly isn't going to be for what are known terrorists in the United States of America. It's not happening. I'm letting you know that right now. It's not going to happen. And the entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, and this is a population of psychopaths as a group that engaged in that in HD. You saw it on HD. The entity that engages in gang stalking as though nothing is happening. And really, how are you going to prescribe how they should behave? Are they supposed to be like, oh my gosh, there's a helicopter. Oh, we're gang stalking her. No, that's not what I'm suggesting either. But you're looking at the malice. That's what you're paying attention to. You're diagnosing. You're checking all the boxes. You're stalking, you're monitoring. You have a whole system that's designed to psychologically torture while you simultaneously, in my instance, seek to obstruct justice. Because this is the purpose of obstructing justice on the internet, trying to suppress my evidence, while a whole bunch of other ignoramuses that don't even know the significance of it are profiting from it. Google is responsible for that. Google is going to pay me. You're also going to determine what is the price tag for conspiring my murder with the government. What price do you put on that? Google's going to find that out. Okay? The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct with a whole bunch of ignoramuses that are engaged in genitalia surveillance. What is that? The mentally ill practice that. Obsessive stalking. And they do it like nothing is happening. Oh, but they're there, and that's what they're doing. That's why you're looking at the helicopter activity. They might as well all be looking around with their eyes bulged like, uh-oh, because that's how much of a siren it is. That's how much of a hallmark it is. That's how much of an indicator. That's how much of a telltale sign. And everybody that engages in that is prison. It's prison time. Okay? This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:55 a.m. I wanted to go into that because this is the entity that engages in this, and this is relevant to Brink's security. That employee is subject to prison. Bill Velto, you're talking about their offices are right inside of the Upland City Hall. The Upland Public Library is a waste of expenditure. This is a means of paying me. It's going to be defunded. They're all losing their jobs, but they're also going to prison. The entity spends a lot of money on maintaining these venues that are nothing other than a means of criminal activity. Oh, that's resources that could be more productively used. The city of Upland is a municipality that's engaging in the corrupt business of surveillance. That's why the entity had a black helicopter flying over me. That's why the entity has a fake sun that's remaining over me from during all business hours, in other words. And today I was here until 7 a.m. The fake sun is still over me at the Upland Public Library. It's 10:56 a.m. In what environment is that the case? But for Alyssa being shown to be a psychopath. Maintaining a straight face, that's entirely psychopathic. Look into what a psychopath is and what psychopaths engage in. They operate out of their ego. Their ego is what enables them to engage in what is an outward appearance, and that's all that they're concerned with, the way that the thing looks. And unfortunately, the P.O.C. looks like you're a psychopath who is stalking. It does not look like you're not engaging in the P.O.C. You look like psychopaths who engage in stalking with dogs and babies and engaging in like nothing is happening. That's what psychopaths look like. That's what psychopaths are doing. And psychopaths are going to be subject to martial law. They don't have the benefit of the illusion anymore where they are able to criminally defame, that is, project their mental disorders, their envy on the one that they're all stalking together. That's quite a compliment. It's quite a rebuttal to the criminal defamation when everybody's stalking me. All right? There's a reason for that. This is the entity that's going to compensate the target individual. This is the entity that's going to be subject to martial law. Okay? They're losing custody of children that they're stalking with. That shows how much they do not care for them. These are the same children that they have sex with. These are the same children that they sacrifice. These are child rapists who are gang stalking with children. These are vagina monitors who are gang stalking with children. They are exhibiting the threat that they are to themselves and to those children. They are losing custody of children. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:57 a.m. under the fake sun. Everything that you hear, you want to sit down, you want a book, all right? They're monitoring. Okay? Vagina monitors. The supernaturals remaining over Woodside Senior Apartments at the same time. It is a POC. You're witnessing mental illness and the removal of that illusion regarding mental illness. And those illusions are present because the mentally ill are in the medical field, perpetuating these illusions in order to criminally defame those who are perfectly sound of mind, in fact, advanced and able to call out demons with their eyes closed. Okay? This is the POC. It is currently 10:58 a.m. Stalking, all right? The entity is sounding helicopter activity. The entity is engaging in stalking by helicopter. The entity is inside of the Upland Public Library. You're looking at these Looney Tune characters that are psychotic in the library stalking. License 5FWA769 ANTYTNI 5RJG592. The fake sun's in Ontario, California right now. Yesterday. POC. Over my head, speaking to the documentation of terrorists that engaged in that, while the entity that criminally defames me is exceedingly fearful of my advanced ability to prosecute them. And they're right, because they're all being prosecuted. You're going to prison for stalking by helicopter with the intent to obstruct justice, and that includes Brink Security, the operator of that vehicle, bearing a gun, stalking me with the military that is putting him in prison while I document that corporation and I document him. This is POC. I'm capturing license plates right now. So this is going on the podcast, but this is also going to go on the evidence of the people of the state, the vicarious engagement in the state's pattern of conduct, which is the U.S. military gang stalking in California. This is POC 72318 Bob 2. Molly's Cafe is stalking as well. They engaged in this pattern of conduct. COLLIN SHEEHY, County Fire, the Upland Unified School District, in that act of terrorism, while they are all very much fearful. Very fearful. You will see the fake sun reflecting off of the windshield of these vehicles at 450 North Euclid Avenue at the intersection of D Street and First, where I am at the Upland Public Library parking lot. It's remaining at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not going to be over Woodside Senior Apartments. This is the entity that is stalking indeed, and so was Brink Security, and the entity engaged in that because they are indeed mentally ill. You are repealing the Baker Act, where the mentally ill are defaming the targeted individual while they are gang stalking that person. This is Brianna. Brianna's going to prison. Okay? She's going to prison. POC, she's under the fake sun in the evening yesterday as I'm exiting after 7. Her license is 9HT422. 9HXT422. Okay? POC, prison along with the rest of the people of the state. You're not helping anybody. They're all going to prison. This is the POC. This is the Upland City Hall. The employees of the City Hall are stalking and monitoring with the entity that engaged in terrorism by helicopter. Just whipping out the helicopter, just gang stalking willy-nilly. You're going to federal prison willy-nilly. Crossing path. Stalk sons in Ontario. License 9LOM088. This is POC. Anthesis is here gang stalking with the developmentally challenged. Anthesis, the corporation, is going to be federally prosecuted under the Welfare and Institutions Code. This is a matter of actually necessity. They will be shut down, period, because of their criminal engagement in abusing the developmentally challenged to engage in criminal activity and targeting the targeted individual in concert with the government. And the purpose of these businesses is to help and aid in the developmentally challenged while they are engaging in what is criminal activities, psychological torture tactics via the developmentally challenged, stalking via the developmentally challenged. Anthesis employees are subject to prison for this. They're going to be prosecuted under the Welfare and Institutions Code. That corporation is invalidated by its criminal activity, psychologically torturing, gang stalking through that business. It's directly opposed to the purpose of what Anthesis and businesses like Opark are supposed to be engaging in. They are the fake sun. All right, this is the POC. Alrighty, we've got the gang stalking moms pacing into the parking lot as I get these license plates. Or the fake sun's no longer over the Upland Public Library now. Alright, where the entity was stalking by helicopter and oh, look at the helicopter. Look at that helicopter. Because you're going to be looking at that federal cell. This is the POC. I'm capturing license plates now.
Remember, I'm at the parking lot documenting San Bernardino County fire in the middle of the afternoon. I believe it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It is currently 11:05 a.m. This is P.O.C. on several counts. All right. The mentally ill are unfit to be around minor children while they engage in the mentally ill practice of stalking with noise and stalking with light. They will be removed from children on those grounds as well. They're literally psychotic. Just want you to see the fake sun that remains over me. This is already proven. I've already proven this case, but just want you to see all the gang stalking mothers coming to the Upland Public Library to engage in psychological torture in prison while they clutch the hands of their children. It shows you the level of diabolical wickedness that is at work amongst those who are gang stalkers. They lust for blood. These are people that don't like themselves. They are married, they have children, right? Their husbands are cheating on them. They're homosexuals. They're demons that don't actually love each other. They're miserable, and that's why they come gang stalk someone like myself, by the way. This is why they come so in furtherance of criminal someone like myself. That is a very bad bet. Cannot criminally defame me. I'm literally unfortunately, the entity has learned after they committed it. I needed you to commit it, and now I'm going to prosecute you for what you did. You cannot defame me. There's nothing that would fit anything that you would describe as mentally ill. And you are always targeting while you seek to do so. You cannot do it legitimately. Okay? The entity's engaging in that, though, however, and what I'm showing you is not only can they not defame me, they are not in any position to defame anybody where you are gang stalking. Gang stalking will never result in what is the diagnosis of mental illness. Okay? This is the P.O.C. 9BUR044. This is Anthony's license plate, 7VGY971. I know that because he was gang stalking me by helicopter at 7-Eleven. He's already going to prison. This is P.O.C. That's the entity monitoring me with the old biddy that is opening up her. I already got her license. Ooh, look at the helicopter. Psychopathic disorders are diagnosed while the entity is gang stalking. While they seek to control themselves, contain their composure, while they exhibit severe levels of hatred and malice for no legitimate purpose. And it's not like somebody stole your husband. Not that I do not state that there's any reason to engage in it. But the target individual didn't steal your husband. The target individual didn't kill your dog. The target individual didn't rob you at gunpoint and murder your child. They didn't do anything tragic to you. Why do you want to see them dead? Why are you torturing them? Why are you stalking? Because they are demons. They are evil. They are miserable beings. 7PGC701. This is pacing. The sun's in Ontario. This is giving you context. They're pacing. 8DGM500 is a gang stalking mother. Like Tracy Banks, that's not a mother. She's literally not my mother also. She's a psychopath. 9CAD080. This is P.O.C. H Ridge, all right? These are a bunch of demons. I just wanted to come out and get the license plates of those engaging in torture, all right? This is the entity. You are documented. You are identified, sharing and stalking by helicopter. The appetite for torture by the demon possessed. There is no status where you are excluded. They are procreating. Terrorists are procreating. They're maintaining the illusion in the United States of everyday normalcy. Absolutely, demons, the Nephilim, marry. They do not believe in the institution of marriage. They are not actually in love. They do not have that holy matrimony, that ongoing. It's maintaining the illusion of that purpose while the family is gang stalking. Everything that the family is doing is serving gang stalking, surveillance by the United States government. That's what this country is engaged in, okay? This is the P.O.C. It is currently 11:10 a.m. And you're looking at the fake sun that abandons the Upland Public Library. This is why I would want to be clear. There's not two suns. So it's not in Florida right now, number one, meaning it's nowhere else. The natural environment is what you're comparing the demons to all around, pacing all around. You see it on that windshield. It's not over Woodside Senior Apartments, nor is it going to be. The mentally ill are engaged in pacing right in front of your face. They are the undiagnosed mentally ill population.
And this is correcting the record. They will never criminally defame anybody. And this is speaking to what is investigating those that the state of California have unlawfully confined and the circumstances behind that unlawful confinement while they are engaged in terrorism, stalking, and the foolish manner that they did on video by helicopter, again, because of the entity's fear of advanced abilities. Glory to God. All right, this is the P.O.C. It is currently 11:11 a.m. P.O.C. All right, systematic stalking. This is what you see. I move my arm, I gesture, reference to move anything. These are demons that are monitoring my movements. They're monitoring my vagina in the bathroom while they're stalking in the stalls and while they're not even physically in the bathroom. These are demons. These are not humans. This is the Nephilim. They are pacing. They're pacing all around me, every move that I make. This is the P.O.C. It's 11:13 a.m. The sun's remaining in Ontario yesterday. This is Anthony, whose license plate is outside that I just read. This is P.O.C.
Hello.
Good morning. Can I get a laptop, please? I'm going to show you the fake sun that's now back over the, yeah, here it is here. And yesterday during the 2 p.m. hour, Alyssa is at the reference desk and the fake sun is over me at this same reference desk area. That is the impossible. While you are present, you are gang stalking. It's prison.
You got your library card?
Yes, sir. I sure do. Is this one, are they charged?
This one is, yeah. It's fully charged.
Okay.
Thank you. There you go. Alright, there you go.
Thank you.
Of course.
Can I get a wipe? A disinfectant wipe, please, if you don't mind?
There you go.
They have, okay. All right, here we go. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what I just documented is the fake sun as I'm arriving during the 7 a.m. hour, and it's 11 and it's still over me at the same address, number one. Number two is the greater context. I'm not even here. I don't even start walking. I don't arrive until after 2 o'clock yesterday. That's, again, greater context. And the entity is engaging in this while they have engaged in stalking in a whole other state with a fake sun. So how is it ever in Las Vegas, Nevada, no matter what time of year it is, daylight savings time or not? This is what I have in Las Vegas, Nevada during the same time of year when I'm going to San Diego, traveling on the roads and the highways in throughout Los Angeles, San Diego, and Orange County, and in Kern County as well. The entity is keeping that fake sun over me, literally through the sunroof of my vehicle. That's compared with what Anthony is standing under while the entity keeps the fake sun over the library while I enter it, and you're looking at a bunch of psychopaths sitting around holding their babies on their phone, very confident in doing so. And so I just leave the building, and so does that fake sun. I go in that parking lot, and all the gang stalking mommies walk outside and get in their cars as well. And that fake sun is over that parking lot. Yet, meanwhile, it's remaining in Ontario yesterday, and it does not leave. It does not depart Woodside at 408 West G Street until 1:05 p.m. Okay, this is the entity that's severely mentally unstable, and I will labor to show you that while they engage in psychopathic behavior by failing at acting like. And why are you acting? Because you're conspiring murder by criminal defamation as a system with the entity that's idiotic enough to stalk. That is proved. They're not even subtle. You're not acting like anything. You're stalking in helicopters and everybody's keeping a straight face and smiling. Oh, look at my baby. Oh, move. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that. There is nothing normal or sane about this entity. They're psychotic. They're all surrounding me, stalking with sirens. They start stalking in a helicopter as I'm putting up what is, again, I'm so mentally ill. Why is it such a big to-do when I'm putting up information about Brink security? Why do we have that ongoing coincidence every time I publish something on the internet? Right? While you are trying to control your facial expressions and you think hiding behind a dog or a baby is going to help you with regard to legitimate medical professionals who are going to lock you away for the protection of everybody, that's the entity that's stalking, okay? The serial stalker is sitting right in front of the location inside of the library where they anticipate for me to sit, but it doesn't matter. Even if he was sitting in front of the bathroom door, which is what he wants to do, he's a vagina monitor, he is still stalking in the path, okay? The fake sun moves where I'm located in the library, and this is the evidence of a stalker. Stalker are identified not by chronology. The fake sun is over me as you are already in position, and all of that entity is engaging in that conduct together, and that's what you'll see. The serial stalker that's stalking by helicopter today is in position and is doing so with regard to the supernatural. This is the African-American male that's gang stalking and doing so serially. And that is already a matter of evidence with regard to Upland Public Library gang stalking. This is the P.O.C. This is pacing that you're looking at on the staircase. This is the mentally ill that collectively engage in the psychopathic pacing. All right, that's P.O.C. It is currently 11:18 a.m. Alrighty, the entity is engaged in criminal summoning. It's 1:11 p.m. and yesterday I'm at the Grove Apartments where Carissa and Anthony are psychopaths by virtue of their engagement in the pattern of conduct and outwardly demonstrating themselves as though nothing is happening and they're not engaging in anything, that they're not psychologically torturing someone, that they're not stalking as a matter of a system that's underway, that they're not... Okay, that which is in Ontario at H Street and Vine is not over me at 450 North Euclid Avenue. That which is in a natural environment present at 450 North Euclid Avenue would not still be present in the natural environment like it is at 7 in the morning. This is under all circumstances serving to diagnose and prosecute Anthony, who's already on the record stalking me by helicopter at 7:11 in the morning. That's evidence chronologically speaking to his targeting. Keeping his back to me is the evidence of mental instability. Doing so with all the people of the state, the entities inside of this library stalking with noise, including by sirens. The entity is stalking by driving right here on D Street, go right here, where I captured the fake sun at 7:19 a.m. on video. And this is the entity that's psychopathic. You see, pacing all around me and doing so in emergency vehicles. And the emergency is that they're going to be committed. They're losing their positions. They're going to be subject to a criminal prosecution for being terrorists who are a part of the Upland Police Department, American Medical Response in Upland, California, and San Bernardino County Fire. These are all stalkers. You see, there's no sign. The Grove Apartments. The Grove Apartments is gang stalking. That's what I captured on evidence. And the next day, the fake sun's in another absurd location outside of the operation of the natural environment where the entity's stalking by helicopters, and they act like nothing is happening. Right? Stalking by the use of sirens while they're monitoring on devices and engaging in what is stalking in the path, maintaining a place like a library where they're all monitoring actually my vagina and monitoring my device and monitoring the evidence that I'm publishing on the internet, which is federal stalking and furtherance of murder. It's state surveillance. This is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. Kiki, Sheena, Adam Tuckerman, who you saw on video, Anthony, who you saw on video, Carissa, Alyssa, who you saw on video, Alan, they're here monitoring, and they're all going to prison, okay? They're under the supernatural, and this is a matter of evidence to not only repeal the Baker Act for defaming perfectly sane individuals that the gang stalking brokies want to steal from, the entities engaged in this pattern of conduct, and they're going to be subject to martial law as a mentally unstable population, as I'm establishing this in Upland and in Ontario. This is where the entity is stalking as a population, and they're also doing so in the bathrooms. Alrighty, this stalker, it's over Ontario while it's over, and he's walking in that which is not sunlight. And this has been the case since I walked in at 10 o'clock in the morning. This is the P.O.C. Wait. 1:14 p.m. The entity is engaged in criminal summoning 3 times thus far. The employees are going to prison. This is that very system. This is the P.O.C. The entity is engaged in what is that ongoing psychological torture. The employees are going to federal prison for that. This is the entity that is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and they are indeed engaging in that. Well, yeah. The serial stalker is right here in the path. The African American with the large head that's stalking with the entity by helicopter this morning. He's going to prison too. This is the P.O.C.
It is 1:14 p.m. I've yet to arrive here over an hour from now, and you're looking at it right here. Okay. The impossible is the evidence stability. Looking to the left and the right while you're monitoring. This is the entity that's being deported, it's being put in prison, it's being put in mental institutions, it's being labeled appropriately as a sex offender, and it's being prosecuted as a terrorist. The people of the state, enemies in the country, P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently 3:01 p.m. and in the images inside of Ovid, excuse me, that's the wrong crime scene. Ovid is being prosecuted by the gang stalkers of the Upland Public Library who are under the fake sun, which would deprive Ovid Family Community Library in Ontario, California, from the ability to be in any natural environment where the sun would be present from literally the hour of sunrise until sunset, like the evidence shows. Ovid Family Community Library is surrounding me, and this is the entity that's engaged in what is in Upland, California, stalking in the path. You will see Joy exhibiting mental illness. She is pacing from the reference desk back to her office, doing so while the fake sun is over D Street, the same D Street while I'm present in the morning, documenting the entity gang stalking, for example, with the children whom they employ in psychopathic pacing and activity creation, just like you saw this morning with the helicopter. The entity's keeping the fake sun over D Street. That's where I'm facing this morning during the video captured at 7:19 a.m. This same D Street is where you see Joy stalking. That's what it's called when she is at a facilitating venue, which she refers to maliciously as her place of work, while the entity is engaged in what is psychological torture. This is Joy being diagnosed and simultaneously criminally prosecuted as a third party. She is actually a state actor working at the city of Upland. Joy's already going to prison by virtue of the black helicopter flying over me this morning. And I am still under this fake sun, which is psychologically harmful to me as well. Moreover, Joy is targeting me while she is stalking me with amplified audible activity. So while I listen to content and drown out the noise, it is not loud enough while the entity is stalking. You heard that door in the background? The entity is engaging what is amplifying it at a louder volume when I'm listening to content on the communication device that I'm listening to. This is the entity that's doing so while Joy is, you'll see her smiling from ear to ear. She's a psychopath. You'll see her walking away from the reference desk back to her office. She's pacing. She's a psychopath. You'll see so while Engineer Light is on the upper portion of the same venue like you saw this morning at 10 o'clock. Joy is a psychopath, and she's engaging in this while you see the fake sun as I take a picture it over me at the D Street corner of the same venue. That's the same position that it was at 7:19 a.m. on video. Joy is indeed a psychopath. She's engaged in the program of psychological torture, which is working to have her mentally committed. Okay. This is the entity that's, involuntarily committed for her mental issues that are proven with tangible evidence of her gang stalking and engaging in that mentally ill behavioral pattern. This is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. with Alan, who you'll see at the reference desk, and Kiki. The entity is engaged in this while they are stalking me, targeting me, and that is evident in the environment. And it's also evident, the reason why I stopped and gave you a close-up of this psychological framework of the psychopath to be diagnosed officially. This is official though, but you mean by a medical professional who will concur on this evidence. By the way, the entity's engaging in this stalking me with amplified noise to the degree that I have to stop my evidence in order to document, because Joy's being committed with this evidence. Okay, Joy's being committed with the entity stalking me by helicopter this morning under the fake sun. That was at 10 a.m. and they were so concerned about Brink security that being uploaded. Not only was it uploaded, the entity's going to keep, like I said, the fake sun, even though I walked here yesterday at 1 o'clock and arrived at 2, and it's sitting here over my head while these employees are sitting under that light source, pacing all around and harassing me with amplified audible activity, monitoring. The mentally ill are monitoring, and this will be recognized by the medical community, by the those that are practicing medicine. Okay, this is the entity that's engaged in that, and it includes Joy. Joy is joined by Alan and Kiki, who are engaged in stalking me while they sit around in a circle, all of them with not looking at me, not facing me, while they are stalking and monitoring me. That's why the fake sun, that is the supernatural, is present in the same position that it was at 7 a.m. So let's count together. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, it's 3:05, and I captured that at 7:19 a.m. That is indeed targeting, and the mentally ill are not hiding from anyone's diagnosis. They're not hiding from any means of being prosecuted as well. And that mental illness is as clear as Joy walking around in here with no clothes on, because that's how exposed she is. This is the P.O.C. The entities engaged in targeting me based on the evidence that I am publishing today. This, just like they were this morning, stalking me by helicopter while I'm publishing Brink Security and the pattern of conduct of the fake son that is remaining on Euclid Avenue, where Brink Security is surrounded with that evidence. Just like last night while I'm publishing the video onto YouTube and the entity is stalking me by helicopter while I'm subject to surveillance online, the mentally ill inside of the Upland Public Library are engaged in psychopathic pacing under a fake sun, where they are engaging in what is stalking me with noise, which is severely deranged behavior, which is going to require treatment. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 3:06 p.m. This is evidence of psychological torture, for which the people of the state are going to prison, and they're going to be subject to mental examinations. And psychological torture is also an unprecedented basis for damages. This is the P.O.C. It is 3:07 p.m. The evidence of a library full of stalkers, and the employees are all going to prison for criminal summoning, systematic engagement in targeting with the government for the purpose of committing murder, and maintaining psychological torture. It is currently 6:24 p.m. under the fake sun at Upland Public Library, where the entity is engaged in criminal summoning the moment that I log off of the internet. And the entity of demons are stalking in the path, including by stalking sitting right next to you. The entity is going to be prosecuted for all of the stalking tactics that it employs while engaging in surveillance. This is the P.O.C. at 6:25 p.m. All right, I want you to see who is stalking with the airlines. It includes Omnitrans 1454564. This is the entity that's engaging in what is stalking in Upland, California. Okay, that is UPS. There's no terminal that's coming from the Ontario International Airport, where there's going to be flights in Upland, California. So the entity's tactic is to stalk you obsessively. Everywhere you look, you see the stalk. Everywhere you look, you see the plane, you see the helicopter, you see the fake sun, right? The entity's failed dark psychological tactics are used to have those in the medical profession. This is Providence. They targeted me. Those are the ones that are being committed. The gang stalking law enforcement agencies, they targeted me. They are being committed. The entity that's going to produce their identities by the military, the gang stalking police that are stalking in planes in different cities follow me around. And they call themselves engaging in psychological warfare. This is no warfare. This is admission to your mental illness. And I'm the person collecting this data because they're going to produce their identities because they are being committed. Their identities are already known, and it's going to be literally thrown up in a courtroom, okay, and for the world to see. And this very evidence is the entity that's trying to engage in psychologically torturing. This is the evidence that's going to have them committed. The stalkers in the planes, the stalkers in the helicopters are going to mental institutions. Do you understand that? Because that's what's going to happen. This is the P.O.C. The people of the state that are stalking on the roads and the highways, they're stalking as well with the entity. They call this like an ambush. This is organized. Oh, she's coming. Okay, we're going to stop at the red light. The state's controlling the lights. The demons are literally tracking my steps. Okay, and then the entity flies over. They did this as I walked out of 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven's being prosecuted for psychological torture, okay? 7-Eleven's not going to like the damages, the bill. All right, but they're engaging in this, and the entities, they're not engaging in what they sought to engage in. The entity that stole my money and assets, and you went and bought a house on an island somewhere, that's my house. Okay, your family's moving out, okay? That bank account that's overseas, that's my money.
You're giving over everything that you stole while you're still stalking. It's not getting you any more money, no more assets. You're not running away anywhere. You're going to a mental institution and you're going to hand me over all my money and my property. And you're going to be declared mentally unstable for stalking in commercial planes. Things that is going to be recognized in the medical field as the practices of psychopaths that abuse government positions. That's what the military, law enforcement are engaging in. And they are undiagnosed psychopaths and sex offenders, serial killers, and child rapists. That's what's stalking me in these planes. This is a failure in psychological warfare. It's a fail. What it's going to be used for, it's going to be used to have them put in mental institutions. That's exactly where their destination is. They're going to hand me my money, and then they're going to be committed. Just like that. This is P.O.C. The people of the state are stalking at 7:03 p.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. with the entity that's stalking by commercial planes. That's why they're going to prison. See that light on the side of the car? 9ZJK896. Impossible light is appearing on the passenger sides of their vehicles while the demons are progressively going south while they're flying west, but they're moving south while I'm walking Euclid Avenue. These are the demons that are going to be committed, including the demons that are stalking. 1510 North Euclid Avenue, 1518, that's where that third party just pulled out of, stalking me in concert with the military. They're getting committed together. They're getting committed together, like the entity that was flying in circles during the 9 a.m. hour under the fake sun that's over me at the same address at 7:13 p.m. They're all getting committed together. This is the P.O.C. They're driving in impossible light and under impossible circumstances, targeting and doing so, okay? You see that impossible light on the side of their vehicles? They're monitoring every single last one of them. They're mentally ill. 9PSG213 turns on the turn signal with the method of light activity. You see this light activity on this curb over here? They're monitoring it. And it's appearing on the passenger side of their car. That's impossible light. That entity is stalking. They are being committed. I've already stated this, but those that are a part of the airline industry, you are going to be introduced to what are mental institutions, okay? Those that are actually suffering mental instability that is also a threat to national security are being involuntarily committed. And you have exposed yourself by gang stalking the federal prosecutor. And you did that by design, not because you were ever some psychological warfare expert. You're not. You're idiots. You look bat poo crazy, by the way. But that's good because people who are bat poo crazy belong in the mental institutions, and I don't mean that in any insulting manner. This is speaking to those that like to rape kids, okay? They're raping kids because they're mentally ill. All right? Child rapists are going to mental institutions. The people of the state are psychotic. They're pacing. They're all driving in impossible light activity, and their level of insanity is impossible. All right, it's also, their mental sickness is also at a level of what is impossible. All right, this is the P.O.C. Noise in the light, monitoring. License 8, Henry David Xavier 088. They're all under the fake sun that's present at 9 in the morning. BBLTEZY. License 9ZTA213. Stalking as a population. That population is mentally ill. Okay? And the ones that are accessing planes and helicopters, they're going into mental institutions right along with the people of the state. 1510 North Euclid Avenue, you're on the map. 1518 North Euclid Avenue, you're on the map. The entities engage in this pattern of conduct while they are stalking with a whole fake sun. They're not sane, and they're not humans. They're demons. The demon-possessed need to be locked up against their will, okay? This is the P.O.C. In this specific environment, it's 7:16 p.m. All right, it's currently 7:37 p.m. The entity stalking me by helicopter the moment that I step onto the grounds of the venue. First United Methodist Church, which is a synonym for synagogue of Satan, okay? The people of the state are stalking with the First United Methodist Church, where demons alike are targeting in helicopters and targeting with those that are present on the grounds of what is a fake church. They're all demons. You just have demons that pose as believers. They're not real believers. The purpose of Satan that poses as believers is to deter other people from coming to faith in Christ. Okay? That's the whole purpose of what Satan does. License 9ZTC774, stalking with the entity, and I captured video of the entity stalking me by helicopter at this fake church. The entity is engaging in what is going out of its way to engage in stalking me, that is psychological torture, which is what demons do. Demons that congregate at a fake church engaging in psychological torture tactics. And the entity is engaging in what is criminal activity where they're going to be bashful when they're on video, when they're via podcast being documented and doing so for purposes of federal prison. But this is what First United Methodist Church is engaging in, and they are engaging in that inside and outside of what is business hours. Okay, there's no such thing as the entity gang stalking only when it's open. That's why the entity is engaging in this at all hours of the day with the people of the state that are one entity. Okay, First United Methodist is on the record engaging what is targeting by helicopter, and they're doing so, including when I'm documenting them on Fridays, and all the people of the state are going to be prosecuted together. License 90776 Charlie 4, stalking with the demons that are again south of what is Upland, California, stalking me going down the street. That is First United Methodist Church is a stalker. That is not that is not Christ Church. It's a stalker. Satan, the demon possessed, are stalkers. Okay, they are calling themselves First United Methodist Church, where I'm subject to terrorism. The demon coming down the street in the white truck, license plate, stalking with the entity on the ground, license 7276276. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that is engaged in that pattern of conduct, and you will see the entity that is engaged in this is I as in Indiana and Euclid, where the fake sun is over me in the morning, and it was supposed to be over me not until after 1 o'clock, because I stayed inside of an apartment building where that fake sun was planted over that apartment building. And that's speaking to the demons that congregate at First United Methodist Church. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that does it to themselves. I'm not calling you a fake church. You're revealing yourself as a fake church full of demons who are engaged in criminal activity. This isn't just calling you out as fakers. This is documenting you for prison. So like I said, the entity that's mentally ill are doing a service to the public because they're getting themselves committed. I'm taking the data down. The entity is listening to and paying attention to this evidence, which is substantiating involuntary commitments. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:40 p.m. License plate NHB250 P.O.C. Creeping. License 9 Robert Wendy David 639 stops in the middle of the street and puts on his sunglasses while he prepares to be on my camera while he is stalking me at Granada Court and Euclid Avenue, and doing so under the circumstances of the government stalking me through that population. The government that is leading in this psychopathic pattern of conduct are the government leaders who are being put in mental institutions. And this cult is literally, it doesn't even exist anymore. They're again just stalking because they are literally psychotic, and they are also very angry because they're broke and they're exposed, and they're also infected with STDs, which has nothing to do with me. This entity's obsessed with me. These are demons. This is the Nephilim. Okay, so Satan's been defeated and it's still stalking me, and they're going to be put in mental institutions as a result. So this is ending poetically. The demon possessed are going into mental institutions. License plate 8 VRP 235, stalking at Perez Law. That's engaged in gang stalking. P.O.C. It is currently 7:43 p.m. All right, this is the same intersection where the entity is stalking at the Grove Apartments, where Ontario Fire, that's Michael GERKEN, engages in criminal summoning, where FedEx is engaged in stalking in the path with light, where the Ontario Police Department are stalking with UPS engaging in stalking in the path from the roads and the highways, where the Ontario Police engage in criminal summoning under the fake sun setting at intersection 8th Street and Euclid, where the people of the state are gang stalking. This is federal prison. The entity is stalking. This is stalking on the sidewalks, side monitoring, 9ZQF402. The entity engaged in the same exact thing at the Upland Public Library today. These are defendants subject to prison, 7 David Mary Thomas 315. License plate 6Y65086. And this is the entity that's subject to what are being committed. Their mental illness is a threat to everybody else. The entity's stalking is illogical. It doesn't even serve any purpose. They're overtly, immediately unsuccessful. 9SLS416 is stalking on the roads and the highways, just like the third party I documented this morning, license 9MNW610, while the entity is targeting as an apartment complex, 9 Mary Nancy Yolanda 176, license 9E Paul Kelly 922. The employees at Upland Public Library are going to prison for this very reason. All right, that's the P.O.C. 9 Nancy Victor Larry 109, flying right over my head. License plate, stalking with the government, SN403. That's a handicap plate. This is federal prison as I'm putting them on the record at the same time that the entity is stalking me where the people of the state reside, engaging in surveillance and furtherance of murdering an American citizen that they are keeping under surveillance as a city-wide effort. It's as a state effort as I go from city to city, by the way. All right, this is, again, the criminal activity that the city of Upland engaged in, all the gang stalking parents, that had all the babies in arm while they were stalking by helicopters. Oh, look. This is the crime that they engaged in this morning. This is the entity that's engaged in what is obsessing over me, and their obsession is going to result in being committed. There is the evidence that you are in need of being involuntarily committed, while the entity is engaging in not just the criminal act, but the entity is engaging in front of a whole audience. You are watching them engage in conduct that's not a mystery, and you're all witnesses to what is resulting in being put in mental institutions. And this includes the people that are being documented by license plates 8 Frank Wendy Nancy 874 91120 Frank 2. These are all stalkers that are sharing in terrorism, license 8YAP 982. Stalking while the entity flies over my head where you reside in the environment where the entity is keeping a fake sun on Euclid Avenue from morning. Stalking systematically as a neighborhood. Engaging in that criminal activity. American Inn is gang stalking. So is the Grove. This is on the same street. This is the entity that's gang stalking. The Ontario police that are stalking on the roads and the highways are documented on the record sharing in the same criminal pattern of conduct as I document the iterations of that department stalking. This is the P.O.C. The entity is gang stalking the obstetrics and gynecology medical office at 756 North Euclid Avenue, stalking in the path. All right, you're talking about the entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct at 8th Street in Euclid, where I'm documenting the potential immigrants that are gang stalking on Euclid Avenue, coming out of their homes, pacing in concert with the entity that's stalking with commercial planes and helicopters. These two little sugar shacks where they're living, they're being prosecuted with regard to that entity that's targeting me very heavily as a matter of evidence at this intersection, and that's relevant for them going to prison, and that's if they're subject to what is staying in this country, okay? The entity is engaging in terrorism with immigrants that have been granted privileges that are revocable, and the entity that's engaging immigrants are stalking me by helicopter on a daily basis, and that's why they're being deported. The immigrants are engaging in levying war. That's why they're being deported. 750 North Euclid Avenue and 748 North Euclid Avenue. This is the entity that's engaged in that. Black Knight Patrol is gang stalking at 756 North Euclid. This is the entity that's engaged in. This is relevant positioning. This is the facilitating venue. This is the P.O.C. This is the evidence of the mental illness. There's a body of evidence which is speaking to those that are going to be committed, and they're going to be put in mental institutions all throughout the country. They are not holding on to any of the money and the assets that this entity stole from me, and they stole from the target individual that they thought that they were going to falsely depict as mentally ill. And this is why, David Siegler, you're talking about those that are being plucked out of the medical profession and being put in mental institutions for what is certifiable behavior, such as stalking in planes, stalking in helicopters, and stalking at a hospital, while you are posing, masquerading as a medical professional that's engaging in what is the ethical duty to do no harm. While you are gang stalking, you're doing the exact opposite. That is absolutely certifiable behavior. And the entities engaging in this for which they will be committed. The P.O.C. Stalking on the roads and the highways, under the guise of being trafficked, that's certifiable behavior. This is what the people of the state are doing. Stalking where you live, and you're stalking where you live while the entity is engaging in the environment maintained around one person. That whole entity stalking one person and engaging in that while the government maintains this aerial surveillance, that's certifiable behavior. They will be plucked out of the roles where they're engaging in the criminal system to be put in mental institutions. And the entity, this neighborhood, those license plates, this venue at 8th Street and Euclid is engaging in that on both sides of that intersection where I'm providing evidence of that P.O.C. This is the entity that did not have any sun over it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon because it remained over the Upland Public Library. Certifiable conduct while that entity is stalking me by keeping a fake sun over me, and the entity is also stalking me by helicopter while they keep me under surveillance, and they are the ones that are going to mental institutions for it. It's them. Okay, and they are very specific people, and they will be identified because they do not have any HIPAA privacy rights regarding being committed as terrorists. This is the P.O.C. All right, Bank of America is gang stalking. I'm going to prosecute them. The people of the state are stalking by going to that venue, and they're doing so while the entity is stalking, maintaining surveillance with Ontario Police, with the airline industry, and with the entity stalking by helicopters, which includes the Ontario Police Department. So you remember C. Gerber and A. Ornelas, those two demons are being committed. They're going to prison. They're going to be subject to mental examinations. This is very real with regard to how they're being sentenced. And you've seen some of the latest stalkers, and those are their names. And this is the criminal system that they're engaging in. And they do it while they're in vehicles that are issued by the city that's engaged in the P.O.C. Okay? This is the entity that's engaged in that. It is currently 7:51 p.m. This is P.O.C.
Ontario Police is stalking with the sex offender committing sexual assault and battery, license 7LBL404. Ontario Police are at the front entrance over here, crossing path while the entity sounds sirens on Euclid Avenue. This is the teamwork of the demons that are being committed. Ontario Police, they're not just being disbanded, they're going into mental institutions. All right, these are demons that thought that they were going to psychologically torture me while they can't even spell it correctly, and they're engaging in what is stalking as an established pattern of conduct and furtherance of stealing from me. They thought that they were going to get paid to psychologically torture somebody and steal all of my my assets and my money, and then move away or stash it away in their bank accounts. Oh, none of that's happening. Stalking with the Ontario Police is license 9 Larry Nancy Frank 008. Ontario Police drives right behind him in the parking lot of Reliable Properties, who's being prosecuted. Reliable Properties is being prosecuted as a terrorist. That's the P.O.C, and this is the Ontario Police that I am indeed referring to. They're not policing, they're stalking, and so is this one. This is prison. 9 Larry Nancy Frank 008, while he's looking dead at me. That's called assault with a deadly weapon. He's going to prison. He's got his communication device in hand. He's going to prison. That's the P.O.C. That's what the Ontario Police are aiding in. Ontario Police are putting them in prison for me. That's the pattern of conduct. Sitting in a parking lot, stalking. That's a vagina monitor. 9 Larry Nancy Frank 008. That's federal prison. Reliable Properties. You're being prosecuted for this. This is your criminal activity. You are profiting from it, which is criminal as well. It is also against public policy. You are also not ignorant about the place where you are maintaining businesses in California, especially while you're headquartered in Los Angeles. This is the entity that is gang stalking, engaging in criminal summoning, stalking me by helicopter, and they're in the parking lot engaging in surveillance with the Ontario Police. By virtue of that agency's presence, you are being prosecuted, and you're also going to compensate me for psychological torture. 66346 Jerry 4, 8 Victor Xavier Wendy 880. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and this is the entity's poor plot. And while they're listening to the fact that they are being committed, the entity is going to relinquish what is money and property that the Ontario Police Department were compensated, that they stole. They aided in stealing. And this is, again, entities stealing from me and then selling it. That's mine. Whoever you stole it to, whatever you got for it, that's all mine. It's all mine. It's all coming back to me. And you're going to be committed. License 9 Nancy Wendy Bob 485, crossing path and engineer light. They're in the parking lot stalking with light. And so is the gym. So is the cleaners, the smoke shop, the torta abogadas. All these little mom and pop shops like Giant Dollar, they're all being prosecuted. They are not going to make it through any prosecution. That's a given. I'm prosecuting Reliable Properties, the entire shopping plaza. License X1PRCTX is engaging in the pattern of conduct with the people of the state while they're sitting in a parking lot stalking. And this is why the Ontario Police are being put in mental institutions in concert with the people. Stalking with light is certifiable behavior. All right. And this is what the entity is doing on Euclid Avenue as I cross the street where the entity is stalking me by helicopter flying over my head. 9 TTM 542. The gym is a documented gang stalker on a playlist. This is assault. You like to engage in assault while they are waiting for me to come and stalk with light. 9 Edward Mary George 279, and so is the gym at 130 West G Street. This is the P.O.C. All right, that's the certifiable conduct. That's why they're going into mental institutions. This is P.O.C. And this is the criminal activity of the Ontario Police, the criminal activity of Reliable Properties. You're being prosecuted for all of the above. This is the entity that is gang stalking. All right. Gang stalking is corporate action for which you will be liable. You shall be liable. All right. This is that entity that's engaged in that as one. All right. This is where the airport also maintains no flights, and yet Reliable Properties is inundated with evidence of stalking with the airline industry while they are stalking with light under the fake sun. That's the significance of what the psychopaths are doing in this parking lot, stalking with light. Okay. This is the P.O.C. Surveillance conspicuously with impunity, like 9 TTM 542, is the evidence to not just be prosecuted as a terrorist, but to be put in a mental institution stalking with light. Okay, that's the entity that's engaged in that. This is the entity doing so on behalf of a gang stalking police department. All right, that police department is not a police department. It's already proven. And they are going to be disbanded, and they're going into mental institutions. That's what's happening to those like Gerber and Ornelas, Sandoval, Edwards, those that are engaging in kidnapping, claiming that Tracy Banks is my mom, lying on my character while you're stalking me in helicopters. Oh yeah, 9 TTM 542, demons of the Ontario Police Department, and the vagina monitors in the helicopter. You're talking about what are a group of defendants who are going into mental institutions. And that is how prosecution of gang stalking is going to go, because this is a mentally ill population. This is P.O.C. Reliable Properties is stalking me by helicopter in relevant position in the video that I just documented. That's criminal activity attributed to you, Reliable Properties. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:53 p.m. 27940 Larry 3.
This is the entity stalking. Ontario Police is engaging in criminal activity with reliable properties, just so that you know that. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and they're pacing around stalking me, and they're doing so while you're making money, and you are co-conspiring in murder while that agency is stalking me on property that you are in ownership of, that you are occupying, that you're maintaining what is responsibility for, and you're remaining responsible for the criminal activity that I'm subject to on these grounds where you're profiting from it simultaneously. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:58 p.m. All right, Pizza Hut is engaged in criminal summoning. Pizza Hut's engaged in stalking by helicopter. Pizza Hut's also engaged in what is the sale of food, which is automatic federal prison. And they're also engaging in that which is subject to prison because they're gang stalking with the customers who are filling up that Pizza Hut, engaging in sexual assault and battery while they come and pick up. That's pacing in and out of Pizza Hut while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct, and Pizza Hut is making money. So is reliable property. So this is the prosecution of all of that I just documented Pizza Hut is guilty of. This is P.O.C.
Hi, welcome.
Hello. No, I'm gonna place an order right now.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Phone number for the order?
Oh, I can make my order with you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I was gonna do it online.
Oh, no, you can do it over here.
Okay, 909.
909?
268.
268?
Okay, I would like to, let me get the, don't you guys have wings?
Wings? Yeah. We have one that...
Bone in.
Oh, bone in? Yeah, we have it's called a My Hub Box. And so it comes with a personal and some wings. And it's a little bit cheaper than just buying it separately, if that makes sense.
Yes, I do. How much are the bone-in wings?
Bone-in wings is around $2 a piece.
$2 a piece? Okay, and they come in increments of what, 6 or 8?
6.
6?
Yeah, boneless is 8.
Okay, so can I get the order of 6 bone-in? Let me just get the naked, please.
Yep. And then...
And I would also like, I guess, I don't know, what else do you have? You have...
it's like a better...
I don't know that I want like a whole big old pizza. Thank you.
Yeah, we also have personal size pizzas as well. We also have breadsticks, pastas, breadsticks, pastas, some desserts. We got cheese sticks, bacon cheddar sticks.
Bacon cheddar sticks. Sounds good. I will get the, I guess like a personal pan.
Personal pan?
Yeah, I'm not getting it. That's not a deal, huh? That I just got. That's not like a.
We have the My Hub Box.
Yeah, I know. I don't like the boneless though.
Oh, I think you can do bone in for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go double check if it would be cheaper or not. Because they do like upcharge for bone
in. It's okay. I'll just do the personal pan. Can I? And it's one topping on that, or right?
For the personal pan, it's just one topping, and then it's more. Afterwards.
Yeah. Can I get the I'll just get pineapples on it, please.
Pineapple? Alright.
That'll be it. Do I pay now or?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. And it was just pineapple, you said?
Yes, pineapple. Yeah.
Okay, your total is gonna be $19.56 with card or cash.
Card.
So your balance at the bottom.
Okay. Thank you. I paid for this already.
Oh yeah, if you want to, you can always just leave it here, and then whenever
Okay, got it.
Whenever your order is ready, just go ahead and.
Yeah, no problem. I'll just.
Hi, welcome. Alright. You have a pickup?
Well, it's about Tuesday.
No. 714.
light toward me, stalking with light. So in the engineer light, you'll see my hand that has multiple shadows on the countertop. They're monitoring as they take my order. They're monitoring as they come in, taking orders, gang stalkers that are following you into places of establishment, engaging in the P.O.C. And this is literally inside where the Ontario police, who are absurdly psychotic. These are demon-possessed people. This is the Nephilim wearing police uniforms. I'm stripping them of those uniforms. Their mental illness is a matter of public information, and they're also thieves that stole from me. This mentally ill department is being disbanded. They're going to hand over what they stole from me, and they're also going to pay for defaming my character as a corrupt agency that has plotted my murder. And they are stalking outside of this Pizza Hut. This Pizza Hut is engaging in criminal activity with the Ontario Police Department and has engaged in what is terrorism, as I documented on video, stalking me by helicopter. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 8:07 p.m. You will recall I'm documenting the entity that is stalking by helicopter, right? Engaging in what is a psychological torture tactic, which is evidence of mental illness of the entity. The entity is stalking by helicopter, as I documented at First United Methodist Church. I documented a series of license plates. I'm documenting my presence, which is documentation automatically of that neighborhood. Those that are subject to prison, that's already on the record. The entity flew in circles for a prolonged period by helicopter at that fake church already. And the entity is gang stalking also on Fridays when I'm there, and I'm documenting them gang stalking while they are engaged in what is providing food services. It's the same criminal system. The entity is going to be documented with regard to targeting me while I'm on the grounds of the venue. It's a very specific threat while the entity engages in that. You'll note that I documented that, and then you saw the video of the entity engaging in stalking me with helicopter by not just sounding helicopter and disappearing, so I can't, but the entity flew over and engaged in pacing over my head repeatedly as I'm documenting going down the street, getting all their license plates. That's on video. All right, I just want to make sure that that is clear, connecting those dots. That's what the entity committed, and Reliable Properties committed that as well. They are part of the surveillance system while they are present in relevant position where I'm subject to that documented act of terrorism. So is Pizza Hut that you hear. All these employees are gang stalking, all of its customers are gang stalking, and Pizza Hut, the commercial actor, the corporate actor itself, is gang stalking. You will prosecute logos, businesses, corporations for the pattern of conduct that the people of the state commit. All right, the logo, the corporation itself represents the people of the state, but the entity, through its employees, through the government, like the Ontario Police, who are in relevant position, gang stalking, that corporation is being prosecuted in relevant position. The entity is stalking in the sky space, maintaining the specific environment. That corporation is being prosecuted. The entity establishes that corporation as a gang stalker, and with that evidence, that corporation is being prosecuted and shall be liable. The entity, the people of the state are criminally liable for it, and a company, a corporation that's engaged in mentally ill practices is one that is threatened to be shut down. So you're talking about the pattern of conduct, the prosecution of domestic terrorists that are corporate entities that shall cease to exist. Okay, the entities engaged in this while they are monitoring me while I am en route to this venue. Reliable Properties, stalking by helicopter, which the entity is doing on an ongoing basis up and down Euclid Avenue. So this is the pattern of conduct, and this is connecting the dots. Reliable Properties, Pizza Hut is not separate from anything that I just documented, and the entity stalked me at First United Methodist Church, and then as I cross the street, stalking as I am at 8th Street and Euclid Avenue. All right, it is the pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:13 p.m. You will see in the images the people of the state stalking along the side of Pizza Hut, 8WEY298, 9ZHU217. That's an African American female, looks like. 9DHU217. They're all stalking, going to the water, Agua Suprema, stalking in the path, sitting in the vehicle, just sitting in the vehicle, making a purchase or not, stalking in the path, 9UES312. And as I walk out, that's when they start their cars. That's when they're done filling up their water. That's the entity that is stalking with activity. And you know that this is the case because the entity just engaged in, they all engaged in stalking me by helicopter. These are all prospective federal prison inmates. I'm documenting all of them because the entity is engaged in that pattern of conduct. A population that's engaging in that, and I document you, and that you are subject to prison. So this is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct as businesses, doing so as what are neighborhoods where I'm documenting where you live, doing so as a department,
Ontario police are stalking me by helicopter and are stalking in the parking lot reliable properties while they are absurdly psychotic in doing so. They're doing so while they have maintained, I want to be very clear, narratives about how much of a mentally ill person I am. They did that while they've been stalking and stealing from me, and they're getting committed for it. They're going into mental institutions. That's not just criminal. That's a very calculated murderer that's conspiring to steal from someone for money. You'll dress up like you're some sort of a police officer, and you're nothing other than a criminal. You're a thief. You're literally a sex offending vagina monitor, and you're posing as a police officer in order to get away with criminal activity. This is certifiable behavior that the Ontario police are practicing while they are stalking at reliable properties in this environment where the fake sun is present as a matter of evidence early in the morning and setting in the evening. This is the P.O.C. The entity is engaging what is stalking through reliable properties. Every venue here is engaging in surveillance in concert with the people of the state. You're going to prison because literally the businesses themselves, reliable properties, is present for the criminal purpose of gang stalking, because that's what's going on simultaneously. You are criminally responsible for what is going on as you're profiting from it, and that is literally the criminal activity. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:26 p.m. Reliable property is being prosecuted as a sex offender, okay? I'm documenting sexual assault and battery, and you're being prosecuted for sexual assault and battery, just so that you understand all of your rights, because you're being federally prosecuted as what you are. The people of the state are sharing in, your co-defendants are engaging in criminal. Stalking at 9:28 p.m. at Ovid Family Community Library. Stalking again while I am at 5th Street and Euclid Avenue, where there are also no takeoffs from the airport. That remains relevant because this is the entity that is blatantly following me around using commercial airline planes to do so. The most spectacular and psychopathic, the most obsessive and not only expensive, that is far-reaching and beyond outrageous, deranged, okay, unhinged means of stalking me, and also for no legitimate purpose, okay? And that is stalking that is committed by the people of the state, everybody who's license plate, everybody that's stalking with light, everybody that is under the fake sun around me, everybody that sat inside of that library, engaging in stalking. And the entity is following me around up and down Euclid Avenue into the city of Upland with commercial planes, okay? Doing so at what is 9:29 p.m. The entity is now engaging in that at Ovid Family Community Library, where the movement of the planes retires, because this is where I am at. That airport that's engaging in, the airline industry that's engaging in stalking me in this manner is the entity that worships me. This is why they will be committed. Those who are actually stalking by flying these planes and these helicopters, and also who are sitting on the board. I want to be clear, the mental illness of Alan D. WAPNER. It is not limited to the demons that crawl into the cockpit. You need to understand this is a pattern of conduct. And the entity is engaging in what is walking around undiagnosed, not treated. Alan D. WAPNER is a gang stalker. Inherent to his criminal prosecution, which is what he is subject to, are mental examinations. It's the same for Kurt Hagman. It's the same for Ronald. It's the same for Julia Goo. It's the same for the entity that calls itself an executive board. They're stalking me while I'm maintaining evidence, documenting that Ontario International Airport, in violation of the laws governing the federal aviation, by the way, while they're maintaining plane activity, stalking me. Oh, everybody knows that I'm subject to stalking by planes. I'm just the one person that's exposing it. And their mental illness, by virtue of engaging in it as a whole operation, is bringing into that controversy, that case, their mental illness, and it is speaking to what is going to also result are involuntary commitments. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:30 p.m. at Ovid Family Community Library. A vast difference from being at H as in Henry, from being at 5th and Euclid Avenue, from stalking and flying over Chaffee High School, while the entity is at Ovid Family Community Library. None of it is a takeoff straight from the airport. This is stalking, going through the city, stalking and pursuing me. This is P.O.C.